Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Relative to the last question, John, I don't have any control. All I can control is what I can control, and I've got to do a better job with the team. I mean, that's obvious, and we're going to work hard to do that.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Prescott going for it. Oh, and he's got connection for the touchdown to Schultz.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Four-man rush. Daggy. That's going to be intercepted. Picked off. JT Woods, pardon me, all the way down to the 30-yard line.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, David Smoke, and we're on the air till 6 o'clock. A pretty loaded up group of different type of analysts from the NFL to the Cowboys to Baylor to much more as well. Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, will join us today at 4:20. We have our high school football segments, Lorena and China Spring at 3:45. I had a really good conversation today with Alan Hare, the head coach of Salado. They're 5-1. They're averaging about 50 points a game. They have the one loss to Grandview, the two-time defending 3A Division I state champions. We'll see them in Conley on Friday night with our broadcast on Sikkim 365 Radio 106.7 The Eagle. It was very intriguing to talk about the slot T and the buy-in of what you have. So, quick question, 254-339-1122. Is it better for Baylor to have the off week this week, or would it be better for them to play a game? Now, yeah, if that game was against Clemson or Alabama or even somebody else, is it better for them, in your opinion, 254-339-1122, to have the off week, or do you think it would be better for them to have a game and go back into game mode after the loss in Morgantown on Saturday against somebody else in the Big 12?
I think it's better that they have a bye week, given everything that they've had to do offensive line-wise and getting everybody back. I think they need to kind of work on that, those fundamentals, and get back to that a little bit. I think the bye week kind of came at a right time after that game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've learned since the game on Saturday, I think the bye week comes at a good time. And if you're a member of Sikkim 365 Premium, then perhaps you've seen a couple of posts from, quote-unquote insiders who know some people within the program who have shared some things since last Saturday. I shared one of those messages with you guys. Obviously not going to read it because it's premium information, but, the basic gist of it is a lot of guys didn't know what they were doing on offense. There were a lot of guys who had no idea what route they were supposed to be running, were running the wrong routes, not blocking the right guy, not doing their jobs. And so, a part of that is just the really weird nature of the build-up to the season, a brand new coaching staff. You're inserting new players. You've got Jake Burton playing for the first time and playing a position he's not played. So, a lot of things were just sort of not cohesive, and they need to work on that cohesion if they want to be a better football team. So I think that the 2 weeks comes at a good time to iron out what exactly everyone's role is, what their job is, what routes they're running, what hole they're attacking, and things like that. And, there's plenty of improvement for everybody on that offense. But one of the interesting things about that post was just the West Virginia perspective. And let's say, without giving away too much, that Charlie Brewer wasn't the major issue for Baylor on Saturday, according to the West Virginia side of things. And I'll leave it there. If you're interested in more, then you can sign up and become a premium member of Sikkim365.com. But, yeah, there's a lot to work out offensively. And hopefully this 2 weeks takes care of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you get a lot of – I received a text from a guy that I know is pretty much not entrenched, but he has his people. And then you do get a lot of this so-called insider information following anything that might be drama, even if there was no loss, if it's a quarterback issue or if it's a player issue or a coaching issue. And I kind of tend to kind of just read it, formulate my own opinion on it, and then – how much of that is real and how much of that is somebody who's trying to say that he knows more? Because we've heard about this level 1 or level 2 or level 3 sources, but I do think there are people that are on the message boards that they know people. Well, they know those that are within the program.
I've been on message boards for 20 plus years. That's part of the appeal of the message board, is that you not only get the reporters who are on scene, who are telling you about the day-to-day and things like that, but it's also, it's a fan message board. It's people who love the program, and therefore you're going to have people who are donors to the program, and you're going to have people who know people within the program and have those attachments and hear things and can pass along things that we necessarily couldn't do. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the appeal of the whole thing is to have, the varying opinions and the various people with their own sources. You do have to be careful because there could be somebody just kind of trying to cause trouble, but that certainly didn't appear to be the case here.
No.
It was instead just like trying to explain, like, hey, before we attack only the quarterback or before we attack only the offensive line, let's realize that there were problems galore on Saturday.
Yeah, there's no question. There's no question. And I think Phil Bennett, I saw where Travis Reeder, who does some work for Our Daily Bears, which is another site, but I saw where he said he disagreed with Bennett. He said, listen, it's great that you get a coach and all that. And listen, I would rather listen to Phil Bennett than anybody else for the most part, although some people still want to go, yeah. He understands the game. He coached the game for a long time. He was not protecting Charlie Brewer yesterday, what he said. He said that he was not reckless with the football. He was on the last throw.
Yes.
That was reckless. Phil Bennett was not saying that Charlie Brewer was flawless. In fact, he even made comments that there were a couple of throws he'd like to have back, just like there's a tackle would like to have a block back or a linebacker like to have an angle differently or whatever. But I don't know. Was Charlie reckless?
I don't know if
the sideline interception was a receiver, in my opinion, and from what I'm getting told, was a receiver that went deep when he should have been running it out.
I would think that reticent.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I would think that reticent would be better than reckless. I mean, he was holding the ball a little longer than you'd want. Like unless that's your definition of reckless. If he's recklessly holding the ball too long, yeah, he did that a few times. He let covered sacks happen. Look, regular sacks were going to happen. When you play the Stills brothers, regular sacks are going to happen. If you're the quarterback, you don't want coverage sacks to happen when you can avoid them and just throw the damn ball away. That's where I thought he was being irresponsible, is that when he had the opportunity to kill a play, he was trying to do too much, which, and that's part of it. Like, Charlie tries to do a lot, and a lot of times it works out. His doing a lot works out. And so he trusts his ability to do that. I think that on Saturday, sometimes you just need to, it's just one of those days where throwing the ball away is fine. Trust your defense, throw the ball away. It's fine.
What did he at times can be the guy that leads this dramatic comeback, and in a way it looked like he had done it again. And then he throws the pass to Sims immediately in overtime, and you just expected him to probably score in the double overtime. But there are times as a quarterback when you don't have to be Aaron Rodgers. And I got a stat about Aaron Rodgers about excuses of injuries, and I'm talking about in the NFL. But you can be Trent Dilfer. You can be Jeff Hostetler. You could be.
You need to be whoever you need to be to win on a given
whoever
day.
On a certain, and you may need to be dynamic 5 weeks a year, and then it's the bus driver. And if you have a defense like Baylor has, which is better than I thought it would be early on, everyone agree with that, is that you don't have to push the envelope too much. I don't know if he was reckless. He was reckless with a couple of throws, no question.
A couple of throws, but there were a lot of other problems. It's not just the quarterback. It's not just the offensive line. Let's realize, too, Charlie is pretty banged up right now. So, he was definitely a little bit different after taking that sideline shot that should have been a penalty, but that's all in the past now. But regardless, I don't feel like he was playing reckless football. I feel like he was trying to do what he could do with the circumstances at hand, and there might have been a couple of plays where he himself was guilty of maybe not doing the right thing, but that, again, goes across the offense. I don't think outside of the touchdown catch to Ben Sims, which is a highlight because the tight ends got involved and that was a big play. I don't think you can look at any area of that entire offense and go, no, they played really well. No, I think you look at every single area and you go, that could have been better, that could have been better, that could have been better, that could have been better.
I thought, and we all appreciate what John Lovett brings to the table, and we all also highlighted him, as did Dave Aranda the day after the game when they won their opener against Kansas on that kick return by Ebner. There were a couple of pass protection
blocks,
blocks that were blown, by running backs as well. And that's a part of it as well. That's one of the reasons Lovett is so valuable, not just when he gets loose, not on the special teams, not out of the backfield, but also you would think he's one of your best pass protectors as a running back.
There was one in the third quarter where Baylor had started to do something. They had started to move the ball, and he went. I mean, it was one of those things that you wonder. I'm sure the coaches said this. What did you see here?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? Because he went the absolute wrong way. Like, he stepped right across Charlie's body, and the rush was coming to the left, and Charlie was a dead man. I mean, he was dead. I mean, it was just like, that's it. Stills is going to eat your lunch. That's it. Over.
So we had a former coach, and he coached a long, long time, and it wasn't as if Phil Bennett won a lot of his games as a head coach, but he coached a long, long time, and for the most part is very successful as a defensive coach. And then you have a quarterback in J.J. Joe who played the game. And I think J.J. and I think Bennett would both, if they thought Charlie had a really, really just a bad, awful game, they would say that. Mm-hmm. And I know that, J.J. works for Baylor because Learfield IMG. No, J.J. has not held back before. We've had him on before.
He's going to hold back during the actual broadcast.
No, and so it's not as if but neither one of them even text me afterwards and said, hey, by the way. No, it wasn't like that. That's how they feel. Those are the guys that have coached and played the game. But that doesn't mean as a fan that you don't have a concern. You absolutely have a concern because of how the offense just kind of couldn't get out of its own way across the board. But the quarterback, when he leads you to a comeback win, gets all the credit, not the left tackle.
Yeah.
Quarterback leads you to a win or has 400 yards passing, he gets the credit, or the receivers and running backs, not the right guard. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing when you lose a game when you're a high-profile player like Charlie Brewer.
Look, you had a quarterback going into the game already dinged, and then he got dinged early. And you had this pass rush that you've had no answer for going on 4 years now. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. They just cannot block West Virginia. They just can't. And that's why they've got 20 sacks in their last 4 appearances and 1 billion tackles for loss. So you had that issue. So Charlie, as a runner, couldn't really be all that effective on Saturday because he didn't have that health that allowed him to scamper down the field and maybe pick up some yardage when the pressure was facing him. So you eliminate that from his game primarily, and what are you left with? You're left with a guy who's got to be a pocket passer, which is not his forte, nor does he have the arm to really be a great pocket passer. I mean, he could be, I'm sure, effective in certain situations, but that's not him. Mm-hmm. That's not what Charlie Brewer is, and so he's in a weird spot. Your receivers are maybe or maybe not running the right routes. Your running backs aren't maybe blocking as well as they typically do, and certainly aren't finding any holes. You have no running game whatsoever. Your offensive line is been reinvigorated with some additions, but then you got a guy like Burton who's playing out of position, and you've got guys working together who haven't worked together all that much because many of them have been missing for a couple weeks. Xavier Newman had a terrible game in his return, and you would think that would have been a boost, but it wasn't. So, again, I go back to across the board.
We all gave the offensive line too much credit for how good they would be or improve with those 3 guys coming back.
At least for the week.
Not that we shouldn't expect it to be a little bit better.
And I do expect them to be better. But, and look, this is just coming from a high school offensive lineman. When you switch positions, all those things, there's a learning curve. There's 5 guys need to know exactly what everybody else is doing. You develop a comfort level, and they didn't have that on Saturday. That's why I think the bye week is so good for them, because now they have 2 weeks.
Would it have mattered if they had another week to prepare for West Virginia and
I think
with
so.
the Stills brothers?
Absolutely.
Yes, and two things. One, if you got guys out for COVID, I don't know how full strength they really are when they're coming back. And 2,
I don't know if they'll ever block him. If they played in the Big 12 championship, I don't know if they could block him.
Well, and that's a fair point, but I do think that they could have been at least a little bit better had they had time.
All they needed to be was a little bit
just
better.
a little bit better.
All right.
When Phil Bennett came in to coach the defense, they were not asking him to be the 85 Bears. They're asking him to get 1 extra stop a quarter so that they weren't in a shootout at the end of the game in the fourth quarter.
The question is, 254-339-1122, is this a good week for Baylor to have? It's not a bye week. A bye week means you advance into a tournament, but it's an off week. And off the top, Stephen in Virginia, the bye week. Matt in D.C., offense needs the bye week. Offensive line pulls right, running back runs left. So, yes, we need it. Get ready for the next 5-game stretch. And Diane, this is a great week to be off. They have a lot of work to work on, needs to fix stuff before bad play becomes bad habits. That's on the text line, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And, oh, by the way, Jerry Clements just sent this to us. She's listening to us on the newest way you can listen to us. There's YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Sikkim365.com, Sikkim365 app. There's also what we do with the broadcast here at the studio at 101 Elm on the video streaming. And now you can hear us by just enabling on your app or on Alexa 365 radio, Sikkim 365 radio. I did it.
Yeah.
I went on, I clicked the link that Colt sent us, enabled it. Alexa, will you play Sikkim 365 radio? And of course she says it funny, but boom, there we are.
So it's very easy. Just go to our Twitter page, and I think they put it on Facebook as well. So and it's also on Instagram if you're there. So just Sikkim 365 Radio on Twitter, and there's a link to do it. You click it, it opens Amazon.com, or it will open in your Alexa app on your phone, and it says Enable Skill. You click Enable Skill, and then you can say, Alexa, play Sikkim 365 Radio. Boom. Or if that's all too confusing for you and you're listening right now, you can say to your Alexa, Enable Skill Sikkim 365 Radio. It'll ask you a couple other questions, and then you can.
It is awesome. And so I have an Alexa right there. It's next to my flat screen that's upstairs in the office. And then, of course, there's Echo, all of that. It depends on what you want to do. But I'm telling you, if I can get it done, every single human being or animal listening could also enable it and get it done. I was stunned. I knew this was I was going to keep doing it. I couldn't do it. I was going to have to call you.
Yeah.
And so, no, it worked out perfectly. So if you have Alexa, it's there.
From the 254, yes, we need the week off. Not a fan of Charlie, but he has been on a roller coaster the time he's been at Baylor. Now, I'm not saying Bohannon or Zeno are the answer. I just think the QB position needs to be questioned. I believe the offense starts and ends with him. If he is the captain he is claimed to be, then he should be able to.
He never claimed that. He never claimed that,
no.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He should be able to talk to the rest of the offense and get them in line.
It's a good point. 254. I'm not saying, but it's not like Charlie Brewer stood up in a class and said, hey, by the way, I'm the captain. I'm a single digit. That was voted on by his teammates. But he is the straw that has stirred the drink, at least for the last couple of years. The defense last year was a bigger straw.
Yeah, the defense was a big straw, but they still needed game-winning drives to finish off their performances, and Charlie provided those more often than he didn't. And I am firmly in the, if Charlie can go, then he rides out there camp. I am not anti-Charlie Brewer at all. I mean, I do question how healthy he is at times or if he can make some of the throws. But, I think Saturday, again, was just such a mess across the board that to single out any player or any particular unit would be doing a disservice to everybody else who needs the finger pointed at them as well. And not to be too negative at all. They played poorly on offense, and they still went double overtime and nearly won the game.
On the road.
In Morgantown, where they've never won before. So as bad as that was, I'm looking at the bright side because it's so easy, especially right now, to be the negative person. But bright side, they played that poorly in 2 of the 3 phases of football, and they still went to double overtime. If John Mayers makes a kick, if Noah Rauschenberg doesn't get a kick blocked, if a receiver runs a right, there's so many different one play here, one play there, that if any of them go differently, they could end up winning that football game, and they played terribly. So that should tell you that it's not all lost. They have some work to do, clearly. They played the way a lot of teams played in week number 1. It just so happened their week 1 was against a really, really bad football team that made them look a lot better and a lot sharper than they actually were.
All right, there's also things we got to get to with the Cowboys. I have always had this thought that the Cowboys are, again, they get an amazing amount of publicity. Some of their players are incredibly overrated because they play for the Cowboys or get contracts because I'm even now questioning Jalen Smith's contract.
I think you need to question
Demarcus Lawrence's contract. So we'll get into that. And it's not being they're 1-3. And they got guys making huge money and guys that love it and they've been out there and they're talkative. And now here we go again with them. Dez was this way and others have been, they love the spotlight. They love that Cowboys jersey and the helmet and the star and all that comes with it. And that's why they want to play with the Cowboys to get the attention. But, man, are they overly sensitive. And Demarcus Lawrence stuck his mouth inside of his you-know-what. And we'll come back with that. And Paul had a chance to visit with Orlando Skandrick, does a weekly podcast with the former Cowboys defensive back who used to also be a little bit bitter.
But he was never.
He was
just always Orlando.
He was just a bitter guy. He was kind of hard to deal with.
He was not bitter. He's just got.
He was bitter because he felt like he was overlooked. That's what I'm. Chip on his shoulder is a better way.
Yeah, but I think most of his personality isn't that, though. I think that might have been a slice, and Paul knows him better. I just think that's Orlando.
We're going to hear, okay.
That's how he is.
We're going to come back and have his thoughts. It's not long, but his thoughts about Demarcus Lawrence going an F-bomb on the whoever. Why? This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters. You can have a chance to decorate and add accessories to your car, truck, or SUV. Let's discuss your pickup truck. If your pickup truck has a bed, which of course it does it have a bed cover? Do you need a new grill guard, a bumper, something different, something that makes you look a little bit better? Pickup Outfitters is your home for the best when it comes to pickup bed covers and liners, spray-in or lay-in liners to help protect the bed from dents and much more. And you might have a pickup truck. That's what you want to do with it. You throw a bunch of stuff in there, bricks and wood, whatever else, heavy stuff, you're going to dent it. But if you have a bed liner, lay in or spray in, you could protect the pickup bed. And then you also have the ability, and there's like 6 or 7, 8 different types of options of bed covers that help protect whatever you have in the pickup bed from the elements, rain, heat, wind, sand, dust, whatever's on the highway. And then also from people knowing what's inside the pickup bed by covering it up with a cover and locking it in, and no one even is tempted to even think about, whoa, I see that. And then on top of it, it looks good. And you could, your pickup covers, you can take them off if you don't want to have it on for something special or something you're doing. That's fine. You could pull it off or take it off as well. Pickup Outfitters, Jay Arrett. It's at, again, 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, Mike E., you're right about the Alexa enabled. That was super easy. Easiest thing I've ever done. Nice. Again, there's just a thing I printed out. It's the Amazon. Again, Alexa, play Sikkim 365 Radio, and all of a sudden we're there. And you just need to go to Sikkim365.com/Alexa. And again, that's Amazon Alexa, and a chance, another different way. And it's Colt Barber and his magic in another way of listening to Sikkim 365 Radio. So I was driving around, and I heard the flagship in Dallas, and I heard them like just tearing up Demarcus Lawrence. I didn't know what was going on here. So on social media on Tuesday, Tank said this: F all y'all.
Pretty to the point.
I play my heart out for the Cowboys and my brothers, playing through injuries since day one. I will never stop. If you don't see me doing enough, stop watching stats and watch the game. Tank Lawrence is 28 years old. He got a $20 million a year paycheck and gets that. He's had a knee. There's no question. And I don't think there's any question he's not playing hard. The question is he playing well and earning the $20 million? And if it's a bad knee problem, then they need to get it fixed. But you have a weekly podcast with former Cowboys defensive back Orlando Scandrick, and you asked him about this. This is Orlando Scandrick.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, but at what point? I think that it's just, Chill, you see a lot more on this team. You see a lot more players interacting on social media, defending themselves. You see Everson Griffin going at people on Twitter. You see DeMarcus going at people on Twitter.
That's what
things like that. Things like that. But things like that just didn't happen under Garrett. Those type of things didn't happen when I was there. I mean, I thought we did it really.
Cole Beasley and his wife went out to people. Cole and his wife went out to people. Okay.
But if you know Cole, you know Cole though.
Okay, I know Terrence Williams. You know, he blocked a whole lot of people on Twitter. Okay.
Yeah, but now you got guys on Twitter defending their play.
I know.
That's crazy.
All right, so that's
Cole Beasley and his wife would cuss you out.
That's Orlando Scandrick, and that's Clarence Hill of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. And, of course, they do a podcast. Paul does a podcast with Orlando every week. Yeah, they love that attention. You know, I want to play in Dallas, and they get extra endorsements and all that, and that's great. But with that comes when you're 1-3 and you got all this money invested in a guy like Demarcus Lawrence in this team, there's going to be some blowback.
And Orlando's larger point on that was that, look, you can say what you want about Jason Garrett, but his point is he's boring and all this stuff and that they need to change. But Mike McCarthy doesn't seem to have a lot of rules. And the players don't look like they know what's going on both sides of the ball half the time. They're uncomfortable. There's this weird transition. And then you've got these guys, Demarcus Lawrence, getting his feelings hurt on Twitter. Look, man, you're an NFL player. You have a $20 million a year contract. 25. I think he's 25. He's $25 million a year. Guess what? You won life. You won it. You've beat us all. You were
everybody, even Jack, who's new to a Sikkim 365 radio. He's here. CJ, Armstrong, Paul, Craig, all of us.
You're doing what we get paid to talk about you doing. You beat us at it. You beat us. Okay.
All right, so are they? Dez was this way.
Yeah.
Dez did it in kind of a fun-loving where you still kind of wanted to hug him, but times he lost his mind.
Dez didn't really go after, he didn't tweet at people a lot. What he would do is he would read a tweet, and then in the locker room, he would throw a conniption.
Yeah.
And you're like, Dez, man, who cares?
Yeah, and some of us are more sensitive to criticism than others, especially on social media. You guys have tried to calm me down a few times about, getting into it with some people, and I actually kind of sometimes enjoy it. But, Craig.
And so do they.
Huh?
And so do they.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I want. So the Cowboys have all these things going on, right? If teams have injuries, right? Aaron Rodgers last night in the first half was 18 for 22 for 228 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah. He had no Devontae Adams, no Alan Lazard. They were both out. Had some kid named Tongan Toys or something like, what's his name? Tanyan? 3 touchdowns. I'd never heard of him. Of course, I'm not a fantasy football guy.
He's a stud.
He is. He's got a touchdown in every game, right?
He's a stud. And
where did he come from? You know?
I mean, he's
what? Indiana State.
Okay.
Yeah,
like Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Demarcus Lawrence, I think that is a guy who's really showing some cracks in the armor, quite frankly. Some cracks in the psyche a little bit as well. If you're going to let Twitter, as a guy who just a little over, a year ago signed a $100+ million extension, going to let @CowboysFan32 get into your head like that, then no wonder your defense sucks. No wonder you guys aren't very good, because you are soft upstairs and you are soft physically. Anybody complaining about the Cowboys defense has every right to do so, and just because you make a lot of money and you're playing through injuries doesn't mean that you get to lash out at the fans and tell them to go F themselves and do all that. I would be livid if I had a Demarcus Lawrence jersey as a fan, and then I go on Twitter and he's one of my favorite players, and he's saying to the fans F y'all, F everybody, blah blah blah. Dude, yeah, you're playing through injuries. You're also getting paid more than just about anybody in the world to do your job. So fight through it. That's the sacrifice that you have to make $100 million on your contract, is to play through some injuries 16 times, maybe a couple times more than that.
The attention is why you get the money. I mean, the reason that you get the money is that people pay attention.
Yeah.
And once you open the door to making the money, when you're making that kind of money in the entertainment realm, whether you're an athlete or a singer or whatever, people are going to say bad things about you. Look, Lady Gaga is an excellent singer, but people will crap on her. People are going to say I don't like Lady Gaga. You know what? She can't worry about that. She's just got to go out and make another song. You're
right. It's easier
if you're Demarcus Lawrence, you got to.
Here's the thing: you can't expect to get that type of money and then just expect that nobody's going to then judge you on the type of money that you're making.
Right.
It goes with it. And so I guess Demarcus Lawrence thought, hey, I played well enough to get a $100 million plus contract. Now, no matter what I do, I'm free and clear from any criticism.
He's bulletproof.
No, that's not how it works. It actually means you get more criticism because you are suddenly making a lot more money and you are a much more valuable part of this team.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
He's doing #real since the start and all these dumb hashtags.
By the way,
that's such a clown tweet.
One other thing, Jarrett Stidham got a chance to play last night. It was not a good look for the Patriots offense, but he threw a touchdown pass after an interception was called back. And then Edelman, what was going on with Julian? He had a bad night, but Jarrett Stidham did get a chance to come on in. Hoyer was terrible. The decision he made right before the half when the sack was just for a veteran guy. That's why he's playing. And the Patriots are 2-2, and the Bills, are they going to break the lock on the AFC East this year? We'll find out. It's only a quarter pole of the NFL season.
I thought the Patriots had an incredible game plan, but Brian Hoyer was just so stinking bad. How that dude has a job in the NFL is mind-blowing.
Because he's a veteran and he's a bus driver.
But he doesn't know what he's doing.
He
doesn't know where the bus is going. It was very clear last night.
No, you're right.
So how is he even in that position? I don't understand.
He's a veteran. Yeah. And that's what they know. I'm just saying. That's why he gets the job.
And our next guest, I had to watch him play in Houston.
You would understand that Andy Kalu of AM 790 in Houston, former NFL player. He's been on the show. He's invited me on his show in Houston a few times to talk Baylor. Andy, thanks for your time. We appreciate it very much. What is, we're discussing Demarcus Lawrence, and he makes a bunch of money. He was a fantastic player. He's having a tough stretch as the defense. How did you block out criticism as a player, or did it ever affect you?
No, it does. And first of all, appreciate you having me. I always have a good time when I'm speaking with you. But it definitely affects you. And you know what I've always found funny? The players that go out of their way to say that they don't listen to the critics or they don't care what the haters say. Those are the ones that bothers the most. But we're all human. Once you set aside the money, once you set aside the privilege of playing in the NFL, when other people are saying, you know what, this guy sucks at what he does or he's not living up to his contract, guess what? We're so hard on ourselves, and when you pile on it from the outsiders, it definitely affects you. So it's tough to tune it out.
ND with Demarcus Lawrence, though, I mean, he hasn't had a sack in a while. Like,
12 games.
Yeah, 12 games, and he's one of the leaders on that team. Would that worry you if you're the Cowboys, if one of your leaders is letting it wear on him like that?
Hold on, did you say 12 games?
Yeah, it's 12 games.
Yeah, it's been since maybe October or
of
so
last year. Yeah.
Wow, for the most of my career, I was making veteran minimum, and if I went 12 games without a sack, that would really eat at me. So I couldn't even imagine having that big contract, the spotlight on you, and going 12 games without a sack. So it dang sure better eat at him. I mean, that needs to be one where, hey, I don't care what you say because I'm already saying it to myself. And look, I'm a guy. I truly believe that sacks sometimes can be an overrated, overanalyzed stat. When you have guys getting tackled for losses, disrupting the backfield of your opposing offense, like a Jadeveon Clowney, who doesn't put up huge sack numbers, but I believe is one of the better edge players in the NFL. But again, when you get paid for sacks and you haven't had one in 12, I absolutely would be concerned, and he should be concerned not just about what people are saying, but I hope whatever people are saying to him, he's saying to himself.
I don't know if it's 12 guys. I think it might be 8, but regardless, it's still a long stretch, ND, obviously. What have you made of what you've seen from the Cowboys defensively, ND? I mean, obviously, they have an explosive offense. Dak's doing about all that he can, although the running game hasn't been involved to the extent that people probably expected. But you can have a great offense, but if you don't have a great defense, it doesn't really matter, right?
No, it doesn't matter at all. And it pains me because I like Coach Mike Nolan. I was with him in Washington, and a good guy, a sharp guy, and for him to get this opportunity and with Dak Prescott to be playing the way that he's playing, putting up the numbers that he's putting up, and for them not to be winning because of what's on the defensive side of the ball, it's tough. And it's hard to watch because on paper, and again, you don't play the game on paper, you play it on the field, but on paper, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys defense should be great, but we're just not seeing the results.
So, did the Texans get it right yesterday with Bill O'Brien?
Absolutely, and I credit Cal McNair, the owner of the team, taking over since his father has passed away. May his soul rest in peace. We keep talking about when do you make that change? Who's going to be the first coach to go during the season? I don't really like the idea of firing coaches during a football season because I feel like you're really telling everybody the season's over. Let's get ready for next year. But at the same time, Cal sent a statement. Cal McNair sent a statement to the fan base. Hey, it's only been 4 games. Things haven't been going the way we expected since last year. So he's making a change earlier than any other team after they've given so much power to Bill O'Brien. I think, and I heard it on my radio show today, guys. There was this new energy within Houston regarding the football team. So he did something right.
And ND, Bill O'Brien had kind of painted himself into this all or nothing corner with the moves he made. And when you send DeAndre Hopkins away, when you only get David Johnson in a 4th-round pick for him, when you don't have a 1st and 2nd-round pick, and going into the year, the Dolphins think they're probably with the team the Texans have, and it might still be this way, but looking at a pick in the 20s, now the Dolphins are looking at a pick in both those rounds in the first 5 picks of the round. You've really given yourself nowhere to go if you're Bill O'Brien and have a rough year. So what could they have done with Bill O'Brien after he had done this?
No, exactly. You're right. Usually the silver lining in a bad season, a horrible season, is, well, at least we're going to get one of the top picks in the draft. Well, you're not even getting that. You have the Dolphins sitting there cheering for you to lose every single game because it's only going to add value to the 2 picks that you traded away to the Miami Dolphins. So, it was a situation, and I said it before. I don't know how he did it because he's not a Super Bowl champion. He's not even a conference champion. But I give Bill O'Brien some kind of credit. Maybe he used that Ivy League degree and was able to, put himself in a position where he's the general manager, the head coach, the offensive coordinator. And not only that, for those that kind of are in the over here in Houston, he he was making decisions on things that didn't even involve football. So he had all the power there, but when you have all that power, you can also have all the blame when things don't go right.
So Romeo Crennel steps in as the interim and obviously very experienced in the NFL. What do you think, ND, is kind of the game plan moving forward? I mean, you can't tank because, like we just addressed, the draft picks aren't there. So what do you do? What is the direction for the Texans the rest of the way here?
The good thing, if you look at it, the positive side, if you have Romeo Crennel at 73, he appears to be comfortable being a consultant, even if, let's say, guys, this move galvanizes the team and they rip off 8 wins in a row and they finish the season 10-6, 11-5. I don't think anybody's expecting Romeo Crennel to get the gig permanently. So I think you're in a situation where you're playing for playoffs, you're playing for pride, you're playing to go deep into the playoffs, and I still feel like with the AFC South teams playing as poorly as I thought they played and as inconsistently, that this division is still up in the air.
Andy Kalu again with us, AM 790 in Houston, also NFL defensive lineman for many years as well. How does it affect the locker room when it's this early? You mentioned that it's hard to do that because it's almost like you're saying the season's over, but how does that affect the locker room? Does it give it a spark, an adrenaline rush that everyone no, we care and we needed breath of fresh air, or does it do that?
From what I hear, from the way many of the players felt about Bill O'Brien, it absolutely is going to be that spark. Apparently he didn't quite get along. He wasn't like Kubiak. Even when Kubiak had a 2-14 year, he's such a player's coach. He's such a good man, just a good dude. You felt bad seeing him out the door. I mean, yesterday, I think from where I live, 50 miles away from the stadium, I heard the guys in the locker room partying when they heard that Bill O'Brien was being relieved of his duties. So I think you are going to get that spark. And here's something else to keep an eye on. The play calling from Tim Kelly. Though he's been the, quote-unquote offensive coordinator the first couple of games, I think now without having Bill O'Brien hovering over his shoulder, he's going to be able to open up his playbook because Romeo Crennel is, let's be real, 73 years old. The man doesn't need or want for anything. He's probably telling Tim Kelly and Anthony Weaver, his two coordinators, hey, y'all just open up the playbook and have fun. We don't have anything to lose.
When you have a Bill O'Brien who created a situation like that, you mentioned the people feeling happy and relaxed now. But there is another side of that coin in that, like, if they don't get better, this organization is going to take a couple years to dig out of this hole?
Yeah, well, I don't think here's the thing, and y'all can tell me if y'all agree or disagree. I don't think the coordinators, the coaches are going to feel that pressure because though Romeo Crennel is the interim head coach, all these coaches are interim. Let's be real. Whoever comes in, whatever general manager, head coach comes in, they're bringing in their own coordinator, their own specialty coaches. So they're all pretty much gone. So with that being said, it's sad for them. Your heart goes out to them, but I think it takes all the pressure out of what they're doing. Now, keep in mind, and I am aware of their coaching for jobs somewhere else, but I'm just talking about as far as, if we don't win X amount of games, we're no longer going to be here. They can literally win out. Think about that. They can literally win out, and they're still going to make a change.
Our good friend John McClain has already floated the name out there of Eric Bieniemy, and obviously there will be other candidates, ND, but how appealing is the possibility of, let's say, Eric Bieniemy as head coach of the Houston Texans to you?
It's appealing because of the success that he's been a part of, and I want to make sure I choose those words very carefully. I want to see Eric Bieniemy get the job. I played for Andy Reid for 6 years, and I know Andy Reid teaches guys how to be great head coaches. That's why you see John Harbaugh with his success. That's why you see Sean McDermott with the success he's having, Ron Rivera with the success he had in Carolina, because they all learned from Andy Reid. So that part of it makes me excited. But, man, when you're coaching Patrick Mahomes and you have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I think I would be a good offensive coordinator in that system.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. And last thing for ND, appreciate your time. Romeo Crennel is not going to be the long-term answer. He's the short-term fix, at least so the Texans hope. But is he the perfect type of interim coach because of experience and he's done this before?
Exactly, because of experience. He's done it before. He knows what to expect. And the fact that I kind of brought up earlier is that no matter what happens, there's not going to be that pressure to retain him or to keep him on. Do y'all remember, and I might be showing my age because I thought it was 2-3 years ago, but the older you get, it might have been 5-6 years ago. But when Miami made a change and Dan Campbell went from tight end coach to the interim head coach, and they had like a nice 3-game run, if I remember it correctly, and then they they were brought back down to reality. But I bring that up because there was a little bit of pressure, like, you know what, this interim coach, he kind of had a spark, so are we going to have to, sign him to a permanent deal? Again, with Romeo Crennel, with what he's been through with his age, and 73 is not that old. Let me not act like I'm some kind of ageist. I don't think that, I don't think that there's ever going to be a thought of, he did so much better than we expected. He's going to be the permanent guy.
Yeah, ND, always appreciate your personality, your knowledge. Eagles, Redskins, Eagles, Texans, and also with what you do on the radio in Houston. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for your time and have a great week.
Hey, y'all keep up the great work. I look forward to speaking with you.
You too. That's ND. He played at Marshall High School in San Antonio, went to Rice. Been on his show a few times during the good and bad times, talking about and discussing Baylor as well.
By the way, he brought up Dan Campbell, is a Clifton native and graduate of Glen Rose High School.
Glen Rose has a good football team. Mm-hmm. Clifton's kind of taken a slight step back, and they're in that district from hell as well. All right, now, high school football around the corner. Brian Bell of China Spring, and then also Ray Bowes of Lorena. Also, the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. This guy, I think, did he win it last year 1 week or two? Right? Reggie Roberson, when SMU was having their... He had 243 yards and 5 catches, 2 touchdowns in the win against 25th-ranked Memphis.
And
Reggie Roberson. Then he got hurt. Yeah, got hurt. SMU is probably the best team in Texas right now.
Yeah, no, they're not probably. They are. I mean, the record shows it. The play shows it. They're clearing away the best team in Texas. Reggie Roberson was having a massive, massive game. That's why even though he had to go out, he still won the award despite a lot of other great performances across the country. Sonny Dykes has said they kind of just are going to have to move on if need be. I mean, in that offense, you could probably plug and play a guy, but they probably aren't going to be as good as Reggie Roberson. So any no-contact knee injury is never good. And good thing for them was that they won the game. But, man, what a performance. So if that's his last college game, then – you know.
So be it. He's had a great run. I hate it for him and SMU and Shane Buechele and Dykes. But so I talked to Gary Blair for a second last night. They just randomly picked up the phone and called him because Phil Bennett does the show with us, and the reaction to Phil Bennett has been incredible, as we'd expect. He said this to me. He goes, how many times in the history of the state has Texas, Texas Tech, Baylor, and A&M all lost, SMU and TCU both won, and the Cowboys, of course, Texans haven't been alive for very long, and the Cowboys, or whoever the pro team in Houston is, lost as well on the same day. And you know, I'm telling you right now that TCU is a Power 5 school, but he was just randomly bringing that up to me, and I was like, I have no idea. I mean, there was years when Baylor couldn't win anything. But to have all of them go down, and the Cowboys and the Texans and SMU and TCU both winning right now. It's 3:47, high school football coming up in a moment. Also, don't forget, Mack Rhoades will join us today at 4:20, Baylor Director of Athletics, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the kickoff savings event is continuing on. That's right, the kickoff savings event will continue on, and that means that you have even more time to take advantage of all these great deals. All 2020 vehicles on their lot is priced to move right now. Get it all. A smooth, quiet ride in a first-class interior matched with power and durability. The GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's kickoff savings event, qualified buyers will score $9,000 off a 2020 GMC Sierra at Richard Carr, nearly $10,000 off the GMC Sierra. The 3-row Buick Enclave is an amazing value in a luxury SUV. During the kickoff savings event, all 2020 3-row Buick Enclaves are $10,000 off, or you can get the versatile and nimble Buick Encore for only $19,900. It's the kickoff savings event at Richard Carr. Score huge savings right now on all vehicles in stock. Go to richardcarr.com or come see the deals at Highway 6 in the Imperial Exit, or you can call and they will bring the test drive to you. Richard Carr, Buick, GMC Cadillac, the people you can count on.
Central Texas traditions run deep, all the way to the vehicles we drive. That's why folks trust Alan Samuels. During Alan Samuels Jeep Adventure Days, get employee pricing for all on new 2020 Gladiator Sport and no payments for 90 days. Plus, the tougher-than-nails 2020 Jeep Renegade, 0 for 72, no payments for 90 days, or up to $6,250 in cash and subprime offers. Trusted. That's Alan Samuels, your friend in the car business.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Danning at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hi, this is China Spring football coach Brian Bell. You're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio, your home for the best high school football coverage in the state of Texas.
This segment with China Spring Cougars football coach Brian Bell is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, First National Bank of Central Texas, Lance Donaldson eXp Realty, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Brian, a blowout win against Gerald. I know you just did what you had to do. You jump out. It got a little bit, I guess, loose there for a little bit. But let's talk about your defense. You had 2 picks for touchdowns, DeGrate, Faulkner. Your thoughts about the defense getting into the scoring act and what that means for the team?
Oh, yeah. So that was actually really big momentum for us, and especially with just turnovers and takeaways in the game of football. Usually the people who get the most turnovers win the football game kind of outright. So us being able to create that momentum was huge for our ball team, and hopefully we can continue that going forward.
Is that contagious in any way when you get defensive scores, whether picks, fumble, returns, whatever?
And, just the energy on the sideline, it is contagious without a doubt, and usually transfers over to the offense side of the ball, and that's kind of one of our goals is to be able to score off of a turnover, and so it creates an ongoing theme throughout the entire team with some momentum.
I am a big believer in field goals. Touchdowns are great, but I've always been, especially at the high school level, some game is coming down to a field goal to win it or tie it or extend the lead where you're more than one score ahead. Carson Coe kicked a 40-yarder. I know he almost had a 46-yarder earlier. Your thoughts about him as a weapon in the kicking game?
Carson's been he's a 3-year letterman at the kicking position for us. And so he's got a lot of composure back there, and he's got a lot of confidence, and we have a lot of confidence in him. And he strode out there and hit a 40-yarder into the wind Friday night, and that was big. And not only those pick sixes are momentum, but field goals are too. And that creates a lot of juice, especially because it was right before halftime, and gave us that momentum we needed to come out of halftime with.
You've taken care of business, and now we have Gatesville. You have Gatesville coming up. Obviously, they're struggling, although they had a win a couple of weeks ago. Your thoughts about the Hornets and what they present against you?
Gatesville's going to be well coached, and they're a lot better than they were last year. So they're doing some really good things, and they line up in a lot of different funky formations that we got to be prepared for. Like I said, they're going to be well coached and they're going to play hard, so we got our work cut out for us.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, this is Ray Miles, head football coach at Marina High School, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Lorena Leopards football coach Ray Biles is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Lorena coach Ray Biles joins us here on Sikkim 365 Radio. And, Coach, a hard-fought loss, 49-41 to Troy. Your team, I mean, again, your district, this thing is going to be a dogfight every week. What did you learn about your team this last week?
Well, we made some mistakes in the second half, and that's what caused us the ball game. We didn't get a couple of breaks when we had an opportunity, and, you've got to take advantage of everything that comes your way. So, anyway, from that standpoint, but, we got down 3 scores and cut it to 1 and had an opportunity if we could get a stop, get the ball back, but it didn't happen. But I thought the kids fought hard, especially in the second half, to try to maintain an opportunity to win the game.
You're on the bye this week. With everything that's gone on here in 2020, do you have to approach the bye differently? I know that a lot of times that's fundamentals, that's getting back to basics, and maybe a little bit of getting ahead for the next game. But with everything else that's going on, do you take an opportunity to maybe do some other things?
Well, we watched quite a bit of film yesterday with them, did some things in the weight room, kind of let them get their legs under it. And that's another part of it. This time of the season, you want them to, make sure everybody's healthy as you can be with, the quarantine situations and everything else that's going on. But you're trying to get your kids' legs back under them to make a run. We got a month left. We got 4 ball games left after, like I said, we're off this week, and then we come back the following week with McGregor. And we are trying to do some things fundamentally, pitch and catch and tackle and block, and do some things that we just don't normally have time to do during a normal work week because you're too busy preparing for that next opponent. So, we're going to look at that this week and try to clean some things up and see if we can get some folks in the right spot to make some plays for us down the stretch.
Does the bye week maybe this year help you catch up on anything you might have lost over the summer, especially since, everybody in McLennan County lost, about 10 days to 2 weeks, when we had the shutdown, when you guys were about to start practice?
Well, again, it just goes back to we're just trying to get some reps in this week that we can try to clean some things up that, we've obviously each coach has a list of things that they feel that their kids, we just aren't getting it done there. So, that's the way we're addressing that is, okay, whether it's, with our base blocking, whether it's with tackling, whether it's whatever it is, that, we just don't have time to stop and fix an awful lot of things during the course of the season because you're trying to prepare for the next football game. So we do have some time this week to slow it down and make sure everybody's on the right page and make sure everybody understands what we're trying to do and, let's try to get better at what we're doing. Again, the teams that are going to play in November, December, the ones that, continue to prove in September and October. So we've got a lot of improvement to do and hopefully we'll get there.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeview Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, we're back, 4 o'clock hour. I want to get to one quick thing. We were going to do it earlier, but we had so much to discuss with Baylor and also then with the Cowboys. This is when Craig brings up high school football games and we react to them. Mack Rhoades at 420, sports law attorney Dan Lust on many things, including I saw something where Colorado's got a gambling service that's going to sponsor some of what they do. David Hellman and John McClain, NFL, 5 o'clock and 5:30. I have this question. Denzel Washington, we have a pop quiz that we get sent sometimes Monday nights, Tuesday nights. Jason King used to do it. Now Ashley's done it. He sent it to us on Sunday, which I love because I need sometimes an entire day to think about it. Favorite Denzel Washington movie or film?
And I want to start by apologizing to Ashley for not getting mine back. I can't think the last time I didn't get one of those back, but I just couldn't get it back.
Well, sometimes you just, I've done that.
Yeah.
Look,
So, Ashley, next week I got you. But Training Day, not even close for me. It's number one. There's a lot of other great movies that I could go over, but my number one, it's Training Day, and it's not even close.
Yeah,
it's in the premium section, all the answers, by the way.
Craig and I agree totally on this one. I do have to say something about, and I know that Ashley and Coulter are bosses. I'm surprised on their choice of the book of Eli as number one. I think that's in his bottom five. And everybody's got to have a bottom five, but it's in his bottom five.
His bottom five are like Tom Brady's 5 worst Super Bowl wins. My favorite's the one when he's running on top of a train.
No, it's not. That's also in his bottom
I don't know
five.
what he did. I don't know why he did. What was the name of that? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles or something like that? Snakes on a plane or something?
No, he wasn't.
Snakes on a Train?
No.
It was horrible. Mine is Training Day.
Two train movies. One of them was The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Now, that was,
and the other one was Unstoppable.
Yeah, that was stupid. Okay, now, and he did the one when he was the pilot.
Flight.
That was I liked that one, but the one Crimson Tide because he was young, and I thought he and Gene Hackman was that Gene Hackman, Paul, and Crimson Tide. That was a great movie. And then I remember the Titans, but mine would be Training Day. Now that was awesome. Raleigh Tejada, he was recognized. You mentioned this as the top-rated NFL cornerback last weekend. Is that correct in college football by some service?
Not NFL, no.
A prospect.
No, he was just rated the top cornerback grade-wise for his performance last week in college football.
His father, Keith, who joined us, it's been like about a month ago. He had called me about 2 Fridays or so ago. It was right before I think they were about to play Kansas. And his father, Raleigh's grandfather, was very ill. And he was trying to get in touch with Raleigh, and he couldn't. And he asked me if I could get in touch with a coach, and so I sent it on to a coach. I also told Taylor Bryan, Athletic Communications, and they were able to get in touch with Raleigh that his grandfather was very ill. He put this out last night when that ranking came out as the number 1 rated cornerback in college football. I told Raleigh to give it all he had in honor of his papa, who passed away shortly after the Baylor-West Virginia game. He turned in the top performance in the nation at cornerback. I just got goosebumps saying that.
Yeah, no, I saw that from Keith Tejada as well. And prayers, obviously, thoughts with the Tejada families. They deal with the loss of a loved one, obviously. But, this was from Pro Football Focus, which does a great job with a lot of the stats and can kind of break down things that we don't necessarily see with our eyes just watching a game. And he was the highest graded corner in college football in week number 5. He graded out an 89.4. So I'm assuming a scale on 100, pretty dadgum good. Arquan Bush of Cincinnati, an 88.1. Andrew Booth Jr. of Clemson was an 87.3, and Eli Ricks of LSU an 86.3. So Tejada, pretty impressive performance last week.
All right, high school football. You want to throw out a couple of the games, and we just do quick summaries, and Mack Rhoades joins us at 4:20.
Well, we are the home of the Connolly Cadets, so how about we start off with Connolly 49, Robinson 7.
Just an absolute destruction. Robinson never had a chance in that game.
Yeah, Robinson's got a long way to go.
I like their quarterback. I do, but it's just there's not right now. Robert Rubel's just trying to get through the year.
This is the thing.
They can make the playoffs because Gatesville, Jarrell, and Robinson, I don't know who's the best of those three. Most likely either Gatesville or Robinson, but golly, that was bad.
Last week was the week of blowouts. Absolutely the week of blowouts. So how about Austin Westlake's pouring on of Midway last week? I mean, I think we all picked Austin Westlake, and I kept talking about their quarterback. He did not see the end of the game because he didn't need to see the end of the game.
What was it, 28-0 first quarter?
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Well, I had a feeling it would get away. But here's the thing about Midway in the 10 years we did their games. They played Lake Travis and Cedar Park and Trinity, and and then the playoffs they beat South Lake Carroll. They played Westfield. They have never not played good people in non-district. But my God, other than the Charlie Brewer senior year, and I think one year Cedar Park came in there and beat them up pretty good. That just didn't happen.
No, and I mean
56 to zip.
I expected that. I expected it to be maybe a 21 to 28 point game just because there'd be a gap. I didn't expect it to be Midway wasn't going to score.
Yeah. Well, Garrett Childridge, the quarterback, they lost more to an knee injury early, like even I think against Round Rock in that preseason kind of semi-non-district game. He was sacked 7-8 times. I had a chance to visit with Jeff Hume. We'll have it on Thursday. I love the quote he had in the newspaper. He goes, sometimes we're told these days that we're not very good about sometimes just saying that we stunk or we were embarrassed. We got to own it.
Yeah.
And they've been beaten up before early in non-district and slowly, methodically, but they had a district that was very manageable. With all due respect, they had to beat Temple, and for a while they also had to learn how to beat Copper's Cove. And on occasion, either Shoemaker and last year Harker Heights was able to get them, but they had a district that was very favorable. Now they're in a different district that's a different animal. And they play South Grand Prairie. They'll be very athletic. Not sure. I think they'll be favored, but that was hard to watch.
Just want to give a shout-out to my alma mater, Tyler Legacy, for their 40-28 win over crosstown rival Tyler High. That used to be known as Robert E. Lee versus John Tyler, but now it's Legacy versus Tyler High.
An incredible series.
Yeah, 40-28. How about Academy 45-42 over McGregor?
That one,
I was a little bit worried about my pick. I picked Academy.
Yeah,
I was worried about my pick, but they proved they could win a game in a shootout, which I didn't know that they could do. Win games 20-12, or muck it up a little bit. Man, that was a huge win for them.
Yeah, it was. And McGregor, that district's just going to be weird every week. It's going to be wild.
Jeez,
there's not going to be very many. You're not going to see any like 28-0 or 42-10 games in that district. Every team's pretty even all throughout.
Troy, 49, Lorena, 41. You talked a little bit about Zach Herbachik yesterday, but you had made the comment about Lorena dropping down a classification, and that typically bodes really well for you because you're going to probably have more players, and you've just been playing bigger schools, but Troy got it done in what seemed like it was a great game to be following along with, 49-41 for Troy.
Yeah, Ray Biles, I talked to him this morning, and we just played that segment a minute ago, but he told me, you don't make a turnover here or there, and you can control the game. He said when you've got somebody like Zach Herbachik on the other side and you give Troy an extra possession, that's the one that's going to get you beat.
328 yards. He also got like 5 or 6 touchdowns rushing and a touchdown pass.
And look, he was happy that they stayed with him blow for blow for the most part, but even still, you cannot, because that offense is so good at Troy, you can only give them the possessions you're supposed to give them, and they gave him a little extra. And I actually asked Ray.
And now Troy McGregor will be 50-40 this week.
And I asked him about it. I said, usually when you drop down a classification, you get like a little bump. And he's like, look, first of all, 2020, everything's different. But second of all, he's like, they put us in a district where it just wasn't that way.
Everybody in that district is over 500 or at 500 other than Caldwell. And Caldwell may not win a district game. Somebody among these 6, 2 of these teams will not make the playoffs. Troy, Academy, Lorena, Rockdale, McGregor.
And we saw what Rockdale did to 42-9.
Beat them like a dog.
That Ryan Geyer game, if they meet up again, that would be great. 23-20, Ryan gets it done there. How about that Round Rock Belton game, though? Round Rock 35-33 over the Tigers.
They blocked 3 field goals, I think, in that game.
Yeah.
Or somebody did at the end, and they jumped all over Belton, and then Jimenez brought him back. I mean, he's been playing there for 3 years, brought him back. Had a chance, but Round Rock special teams, or Belton special teams, really has to improve from the next week.
And I talked about this being a blowout week. I mean, I've given some of the closer scores. Mentioned, though, DeSoto 37-0 over Converse.
I was
Judson.
stunned by that. Not that DeSoto won. I thought they would. It was a home game, but 37-0 over Judson.
It's kind of like Judson's not going to score? I mean, not going to score?
There was even a part of me that just because it's Judson, even though DeSoto's we know is very good, but that was stunning how lopsided that was.
Randolph, your alma mater, in their big rivalry game, 41-0 over San Antonio Cole.
Could not have scored more.
Shaq's alma mater.
Did not score enough.
I've already put in a call to Shaq, and we're going to see what we can do about it.
Yeah, how about you and your little Shaq attack?
Here's the thing.
Some players just suddenly move in to the district.
Shaq and I are going to fix that. I've already talked to him.
It wasn't until the series started like in 1960, and it wasn't until my brother Philip's sophomore or junior year did Cole win. Like 20 years later, it's an incredibly lopsided series. Pete Wesp is their head coach. He's been there for almost 30 years. And Cole's won probably about maybe 40% of the last 15 or 20 games, and he should be fired for that.
Does that still bother Phil?
He's a friend of mine. We tied them 0-0 my senior year, and we were called everything in the book that in this day and age of America the coach would have been fired, but then I would have said no because he was one of my heroes in Bob Mickler.
Yeah.
We were dogs. We couldn't score from the one to win the game, and I was the right guard, and I was a dog too.
Cedar Hill.
Not that I still remember that, but
Cedar Hill narrow victory over Arlington 2021. Waco High falls to Hutto 35-21, but Waco High's got a little something. They got a little something going. They got something to build off of.
Well, they're scoring points now.
Yes.
I mean, they weren't last year. Last year, people were just the only time they scored points is when the other team decided they weren't going to try and tackle them. I mean, It was bad. But,
Kwame felt like this team had a little bit more of an edge. They're in a tough district as well. It will be tough for them, but he felt they would be better, and it appears as if he's right.
Yeah, and I guess just one more. Holland-Thorndale turned out to be a good game, 25-21. I picked Thorndale and thought I'd nearly had like a kind of an upset pick, but Holland did
2 games
get the win.
Flipped at the end.
Yep.
The Academy came back to beat McGregor. Thorndale lost the lead late to Holland, and that would have given you 2 other close. You would have been like you would have cut the lead.
I would have gained 3 games.
Yeah, instead of just 1. Holland had some sort of play. I think we mentioned it yesterday in the Cadillac moment. Had some sort of a play late in the first half that kind of kept that from being. They felt like if they wouldn't have gotten this touchdown near the end of the half, they don't win the game. But Holland bounces back from that very tough loss they had to Crawford, and that's the kind of team that they are. But Thorndale's much improved.
Yeah, and I know we got to go here, but Hubbard, nice win over Wortham, 22-20. That was another game that was late flip. And then
it's our buddy Masters, Roger Masters, right?
And then I have decided my stance from now on, because I have probably lost overall records and maybe lost winning a season a couple years back because of Abbott alone, because of simply Abbott, because I lose like 8 games of theirs throughout the season. But I'm like rolling with the redheaded stepchildren, as Paul would say, and they beat up on Blum 73-28.
The redheaded strangers.
The
redheaded strangers.
Sorry, Willie.
They won the state title like 3 years ago. Had a great team. I'm so happy for Terry Crawford. Here's the deal about Abbott. They're in a lot of games because they play good people like Jonesboro and Abbott or Blum or whoever in non-district. But I took them off. But we have them on quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But the Milford, this year the team in 6A that's really good, Abbott is. But Jonesboro is all of what you would expect as well. And Caden Johnson from Abbott is averaging, or Botchick's got a huge year going on, but Caden Johnson's got a big one too. No question about it. He's putting up about 250 a game and 6 touchdowns per game for Abbott.
Yeah, so that's kind of the majority of the scores around the area that were of interest.
We normally would do that on Monday, but yesterday we got gassed by Phil Bennett calling in. Mm-hmm. Just couldn't help himself, right?
Yeah.
When we come back, Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, the week after a loss, the road trip, how did that go? The protocol, the COVID numbers, and much more. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio. It's Pioneer Steel and Pipe. And it's a business that has been in business since 1943, 77 years. In fact, I had a conversation on, was it Friday, with Braden Embry. He's the one that I met with. He's the one that wanted to be a part of Sikkim 365, and we wanted him as well, because that business is all about stability. It's all about longevity. It's all about no matter who has been in the office of president or the economy or what's going on in the stock market or whatever we're doing, they continue to thrive. And they are going to have even bigger, better, faster, stronger news here pretty soon. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, what they have is heavy-duty product. Steel, metal, big things for big buildings, big things for big things you're building, including metal buildings. And they can help you along the way and also help you with the bid process. Even if you don't buy what they have, they're going to help you find out and understand that the bid process, sometimes the bids that look like they're the best are not the ones that are really the ones that's most durable or reliable. They'll help you with that as well, even if you buy from somebody else. The Embrys and the great people at Pioneer Steel and Pipe, they've been in business. Think about that. So nearly 8 decades, through all of the thick and thin, through the ups and downs, and they still stand tall. With heavy-duty product, they'll also deliver it and unload it for you wherever the site might be, commercial, home, farm and ranch, whatever. It's Pioneer Steel and Pipe, locations in Waco and Bryan, open Saturdays 8 to noon at pioneerboys.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
have the one for you. Cap, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man, he has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke, and we've got Jack and CJ and Armstrong running the mothership at 101 Elm Street, and we're now joined by Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades on Sikkim 365 Radio. All right, I know it was a tough week and a trip to Morgantown, but how did it go as far as how do you feel everything was handled from the time you got results back Friday, the trip, I saw the buses going towards the airport, and how you kept everybody safe?
You know, I thought for the first time really implementing, new protocols, procedures, right? I thought it went really well. We had some unexpected, bumps in the road in terms of the test Friday, not just with a student athlete or two, but with a staff or two. And so we had to make that adjustment, obviously on the fly, which, that's just going to be the new normal, I think, for everybody on a Friday. And then, the whole protocol, right, for the plane was different. We all had N95 masks on, goggles, used up, every seat in the plane, socially distant, to the best of the ability, right? So that if anybody, was positive, we'd be safe in terms of, contact tracing and not disqualifying anybody or having to put anybody in quarantine. And, you're used to, little things like having a meals, on the plane and didn't do that, ate before we got on the plane, and then ate when we got off the plane. And so again, I thought our student athletes were terrific. All had their masks on and goggles or face shields. And so it was other than other than the outcome of the game, it was a good trip.
When did you learn that you have players at the last? I mean, how do you get that information that there would be perhaps players on defense that aren't able to make the trip? How quickly do you have to react to that? How quickly did you get that information?
Yeah, pretty quick. We probably got one of them. I'm going to guess now. I don't know that I remember exactly the time, but again, probably about 10 a.m. And that message gets to, or that information gets to Kenny Boyd immediately. Then he immediately, calls me, lets me know. And then, probably on another student athlete, it was even later than that. It was probably right up before we were getting ready to get on the plane. And that particular student athlete, in that situation, did not test positive. However, we found out that he was a primary contact for somebody that wasn't feeling well. Another student athlete, another team tested that student athlete. Boom, that student athlete's positive. So now the football student athlete, primary contact. So 30 minutes before, that student athlete can't come on the trip. So again, I think that's just going to be the new normal for Fridays, right? Probably a little bit more pressure on you when you're having to get on a plane and head on the road. But I think we're all dealing with it.
Is the hotel at all a challenge when it comes to social distancing, and not even just with your guys, but you don't? I mean, how do you control who else is in there, because you can't?
Yeah, it's a great question, Paul. But I thought at least the hotel that we were at there in Clarksburg, right? It was they did a nice job. There certainly weren't a lot of people there, right? It's mandatory mask wearing anytime you're in the hotel. When we were doing the food, they actually had servers serving the food. I thought the meeting room set up again, mask mandatory, socially distant. You're trying to do all of those things to the very best of your ability. So. And that's just, again, that's just going to be, customary throughout this year, and who knows, quite frankly, when that will end.
Mack, just in terms of the game, obviously not the best, sharpest played game in some areas, but still went to double overtime, had a chance to win the game at various points or keep extending it. Your thoughts just on the game Saturday and kind of this program now under Dave Aranda having experience bouncing back from a loss for the first time?
Yeah, again, disappointed. That one hurt. They all hurt, right? If they don't hurt, then it doesn't matter to you. And that one hurt. And we know that it's Morgantown's a tough place to play. It's a lot like, I think, Lubbock is tough, and they're all tough. But for whatever reasons, Morgantown specifically has been tough for Baylor football. And we had our chances, right? And I thought, defensively, we played our hearts out, right? And competed, even with down some players, kept us in the game. Offensively, just could never find a rhythm. Just kind of struggled. You'd have a good play here or and a good play there, but it was really hard to put 2, 3, 4 plays in a row. And we've got some growing to do on that side of the ball, and not making excuses, but you've got an offensive line that we finally have healthy, but they haven't had a lot of snaps in practice, had a lot of snaps together. So obviously great opportunity for growth, and I know that Coach Aranda's all over it, and so is Larry and Coach Fedora and the offensive staff, and then we got to keep growing on the defensive side of the ball. And what I appreciate about about Coach Aranda the most is again he's never too low, never too high, and he's going to attack in the weeks here leading up to the game against Oklahoma on the 17th. He's going to attack where we need to get better and have really honest conversations and make sure that we put the work in.
Over the years, and I've seen you at games, whether it's men's or women's basketball or at football as well, mainly the basketball because it's a different type of arena and it's closer. You're right there in that corner. How often, and you don't seem, you're in charge of the entire athletic department, but how often do you talk?
There?
Yeah, are you there?
I've lost you.
Okay. We there?
You there?
We lost you? Oh, he may have you call that back real quick. Paul will call him back. It's Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor on Sikkim 365 Radio. I used to always had a note back when we first had him on in 2016 to ask him every once in a while about hunting and fishing.
Hey, Mac. Drop his mic, guys. There you go. So you were saying?
Yeah, about hunting and fishing question, but I don't think we'll do that. How often do you sit down with coaches and discuss the actual game as far as X's and O's?
I'm an athletic director for a reason, right? I'm certainly not an expert, in terms of, football, basketball. I've been around it enough and I coached it at lower levels. And so I'm always interested about just having that conversation, asking questions, learning, and sometimes, right, giving an opinion when I think it's appropriate. So, I've been blessed, to work with coaches that certainly are open to having those conversations, and I'll continue to do that. I do think that's part of my job without trying to tell a coach how to coach. I think if you're trying to tell a coach how to coach, then you probably have the wrong coach, or maybe the wrong AD. So, I enjoy those conversations, and I do. I think they're productive. And sometimes it's not about the X's and O's. It's about just some of the mental, the psychology of the game, and certain things that happen. So I certainly enjoy it.
Is it more of you just kind of walk in and say, how do we feel that went, and just have that conversation?
Yeah, I'll give you a prime example. Sunday morning, I'll either call or I'll be in the office and, hey, you watched the film. What'd you think? Right. What did you see? Where did you think that, we had issues, that type of stuff. Right. So, having those type of conversations, sometimes I'm asked, by either Coach Aranda or, previously Coach Rule would ask, and some of that conversation with basketball. So, that's just that's at least a little bit of the flavor of what happens, usually talking about that game. And then, hey, what about the upcoming game? What are some of the strengths, right? What are we going to do just from a scheme wise, right? What do you think we have to do in order to give us a chance to be successful on both sides of the ball?
Mac, one of the things that you talked about last week was just seeing what it was going to be like in a stadium where there weren't going to be a ton of people because of all the restrictions. So what was the atmosphere like in Morgantown? Was there anything particular that you took back home to Waco with you?
Yeah, it was different for sure, right? I don't know that there were 1,000 people there. And so I think once you got into the game, you kind of forgot about it because you're just caught up in the competition. But I think prior to the game starting at halftime, when you walked out of the locker room maybe early, I the post game stuff. It just felt like a void. Particularly pregame, it felt a little bit like you're about getting ready to enter into a scrimmage rather than a game. So, again, it just different, but certainly, I don't know that it inhibited the type of play and or the quality of play. I think that that probably didn't have a lot of influence positively or negatively.
I hope you take this in the way I want you to. I hope you take this. But I used to always ask you early on. I found out that you like to go hunting or fishing, and I know that has probably, it's like my golf game. I've played less rounds of golf this entire year than I usually would do in a month. Have you even had a chance, even when you get away, when you're out of state, to do that, or is that something you don't need to have anything like that in your hands right now?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance, and again, this isn't. I want to be careful how I state this because we're all going through this. This
sure.
Isn't singular to me, but there's just no time, and right now there's just no escape, and that's the reality of it. It is, it certainly feels like 24 hours a day on how to navigate everything that we're trying to go through. Right. There's no time. I don't even feel like there's seconds for additional thoughts. My daughter got engaged, not this past Sunday, but the previous Sunday. And literally, I told Amy, that's like the first time I feel like I can remember in, 8 months, 7 months, whatever it's been, where there was just this 3-hour window that one, I had joy, and two, I thought about something different, and not even completely, because there were still phone calls, but just my mind off of, all right, what do we got to do next? What do we got to do next? Okay, what are we dealing with, right? How do we navigate this? How do we navigate that? Who do I need to call, right? Who do we need to communicate with? And so, again, that's not singular to me. It's, we're all going through it. So it's just the time we're in.
How many times have you spoken with or sent letters to the Big 12 about things that occurred during that football game that you'd like to get answers for? You ready to write a check?
It's a very political way of asking that question. Yeah, I think that you know me by now, and I don't hesitate to speak my mind, and when I feel like I need to share my thoughts and comments, I do, and there were a few things about the game on Saturday that I felt like I needed to share.
I would just keep it simple. That's how I would do it, Mac. I would just send screenshots and say, I've got questions, and then see what they say.
So it can be, for me, it can be really, really difficult just to sit there and stand there without opening up my mouth. So
did you lean on Kirby Hocutt for advice or anything like
that? Kirby's a great man, and yeah,
okay.
I'm just glad I wasn't in his shoes. So
okay. No, all right.
Hey, Mac, I do want to ask you about the numbers this week. I think that there was 10 positive cases, but it seemed that tracing was a much larger number. Was I reading that incorrectly, or has there maybe been a little bit of a rise as far as just the tracing? It looked like there was like 100 maybe active being monitored. Could you kind of just explain that and compare it versus maybe what you guys have seen most recently?
Well, we had 10 new cases, right, and 6 of those were symptomatic and 4 asymptomatic, and then we're monitoring a total of 18. So the primary contacts are only 8.
Okay.
So it's the primary contacts are down. A little bit of uptick in in the positive category. I think, and one of the things, it's so easy to let your guard down, right? Mm-hmm. And when we're going through the meetings and the practices and all of those things, I think there's great compliance. But sometime now, all of a sudden, now you're eating with one of your fellow teammates, right? And you're taking your mask off and you keep it off, right? And so I think there's some social settings other than, going out to restaurants and into those places. But I think there's some social settings where we probably get a little bit lackadaisical, and we need to do a better job there. So we'll continue to educate and to monitor and be diligent with it.
I know that you guys have a lot to do, and there's not a moment for even a spare breath, but that is going to be a pretty big game, I guess, coming up in a couple of weeks when football gets back, because Oklahoma State, where their ranking is, the Big 12's obviously just as unpredictable as it's ever been, but that should be a good one here in a couple of weeks.
Hello?
Yep, we lost him again.
What's going on there?
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we were going to ask about Oklahoma State. Obviously, that becomes monstrous.
I mean, they're borderline top 10 now.
Yeah. And if you think about it, Oklahoma State now, 2-0, took care of their business when they needed to early on, and then, of course, just hammered Kansas, which most people will do. The reason I mentioned Iowa State as one of the teams right now that would be a leader, they're 2-0, but they've beaten the guy that won it like the last 25 years. At least most of the last 10 years, and then also won at TCU, who just won on the road, even though that was that's pretty salty, two wins that they have right now. But we'll see. Plenty of things to go. But you're right, that Oklahoma State, most likely a top 10 team and coming into town, and Baylor's done so much better against them.
And they're not going to lose this week because they also don't play. So one thing that you have to look at is that while Baylor still has 2 weeks to prepare and kind of figure some things out, Oklahoma State will also have the same 2 weeks to prepare and figure some things out.
And their dogs, Tylan Wallace and Hubbard, their defense has obviously played pretty well. Not so much what they did against Kansas. Like I said, most of people will, but they held West Virginia to a touchdown or whatever it was in that opening game. All right, when we come back, Dan Lust is a sports law attorney. There's a lot on the table right now, from COVID testing in the NFL and players and how they're doing. And then also there's a couple of other notes, like minor league baseball might have an antitrust lawsuit that the players are filing. And what does that mean? And even what's going on still with players who opted out, not all of them have been cleared. It's really ironic or kind of sketchy that Ohio State and Michigan players were like immediately reinstated, but there's a few out there that are still out there waiting to hear and what's going on with that. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations here to serve you at home, whether it's your family, your business, or yourself. They're there with you all the time. They've got things like the First Free Checking, and when they say free, they mean free. No debit fees, no ATM fees. That's all free and clear. Plus, the Secure Lock ATM card. I cannot tell you how great this is with the First National Bank of Central Texas. Every time you make a purchase, you get a text. Every time someone else who might have gotten your card makes a purchase, you get a text. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, we were all in Chicago at the NFL draft, and I got a call while they're announcing picks with the 11th pick. So-and-so picks, this guy from this college, and I'm in the hallway saying, no, I did not. I'm in Chicago, Illinois today. I did not make a purchase at Walmart in Bulverde, Texas. That did not happen. That was not me. Boom, they got taken care of. When I got home the next day, in the mail was my new debit card. It was already there. They have instant issue debit cards, which means you can go right to the bank and get your debit card if you lose it or something like that. In fact, the guy sitting on my right just had to do that himself. The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations here to serve you.
Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
If
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sikkim 365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Many things to get to. Sports Law Lust on Twitter. Dan Lust joins us. And again, he's got a great podcast called Condetrimental. At Condetrimental is the host and also attorney at Garagos and Garagos. And he's a sports law professor and also a part of what we do when we need some help when it comes to all of that as well. And also, Dan, there's so much going on right now. You have the minor league system, you have the COVID in the NFL and how that's going on. Plus, I saw where Colorado is going to get money from a sports betting company. Let's start with the NFL and COVID and your thoughts about how they've handled New England and that story right there in Tennessee.
So, as always, thanks for having me on. I mean, we almost had a situation in football. I mean, just with the complexity of the schedule. Where if you were to reschedule certain games, you're running up against it, right? And you have to have certain days off per the CBA. So I want to say, I mean, the handling of it, it's fine. I mean, the first or second COVID, incident, that's the easy part. The troublesome part is if the same team gets hit again, it's just an issue with the matrix. So I think they've done an okay job, a passable job. Obviously, the season hasn't been totally derailed yet. There's no like St. Louis Cardinals situation or Miami Marlins situation. But, I think the step that the NFL has taken is Roger Goodell putting out that memo, really striking fear if you violate COVID protocol, potential forfeiture of games. So you don't have to have this complicated schedule matrix and the loss of draft picks. And I think as scary as that is to lose draft picks to forfeit games, I think that's that's what you need to put in place.
All right, Dan, this the suit with the minor league baseball players, and a lot of it is to raise the pay of especially the guys who are not bonus babies or anything like that. This suit is an antitrust suit now for minor league baseball.
Well, it's essentially a wage discrimination lawsuit. I mean, in the country, you have to be paid obviously minimum wage. I think it's like $7.50 years has got away with doing, we'll say skirting the law by having this antitrust exemption. So, this is a lawsuit challenge, designed to challenge the minor league wage scale. You can't be paid $7,500 for an entire years of work if you're, working, much, much more hours than that. So it's really going to, it's designed to basically reinvent the minor league. So, stay tuned. It's a very, very big, potentially monumental lawsuit for baseball.
Does this in any way bring back Curt Flood and what happened back in the 70s with the antitrust lawsuit?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same type of tones, right? Curt Flood wanted a trade once upon a time. I believe he was with the Phillies. He was trying to get off. And, there was no mechanism to do it, right? There was no angle for free agency. So even if you're, you guys talk about bonus babies. If you're a number one draft pick, you get a giant bonus, but your salary is still, very, very small. It's whatever whatever they want to pay you in the minor leagues. It's a very small salary. They don't really have an ability to get paid to make a decent living. So for those guys that can live off their bonus, that's fine. But this has the potential to really change the minor league system. And I don't really think it's a coincidence. In the past couple months, we've seen Major League Baseball basically eliminate, I think it's 40 teams from the minor league system, because if this lawsuit wins, they have to, comply with wage laws for the country. So it's going to cost baseball a lot more money. And to maybe prepare for that ahead of time, preemptively, you get rid of teams, you eliminate some jobs at the minor league level. So I don't really think that is much of a coincidence.
Do you think that the minor league players will win?
I think it's early, but I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like we have laws in this country that if you work at McDonald's, you can make minimum wage. You work at Walmart, you can make minimum wage. What makes baseball players so different? Right, you are making and generating revenue for a ball club. There is a lot of money being made in baseball. Why are you not an employee that's protected by wage law? You should be. So baseball's had this antitrust exemption. I know in college sports, they're trying to get an antitrust exemption. But it begs the question is whether they're still entitled to it, whether you should be able to allow that type of living underneath minimum wage law. So I think it's a colorable case. You can't guarantee victory. It's still early, but getting to this level and having a class action certification is very big. And just very quickly, if you don't have class action certification, that means each player has to individually bring their own lawsuit, and they don't have the means to do it. So for them to be able to all join forces under one lawyer, a very small group of lawyers, that's very advantageous for cost-benefit level to really challenge this law. So a very big win for the players this past week with the Supreme Court decision.
Dan, I saw that when the Big Ten decided to play football finally and that they would start their year at the end of this month, that a player from Michigan or maybe Ohio State or both or maybe multiple players from those two schools were like immediately cleared that they could come back. But I don't think everybody in the Big Ten who opted out. I'm not sure about Rondale Moore at Purdue or the young man. I know Penn State linebacker doesn't want to play anyway. But is there something that's uneven here about those who opted out that are not able to get that clearance yet?
Yes, I think so. So, I mean, the time frame for people that a little need a refresher on the Big Ten, August 12th, they cancel the season. There's a little bit of a backlash, not what we ended up seeing, but August 19th, Kevin Warren comes out and says, listen, we're not revisiting the decision. It's final. Season is canceled. I'm paraphrasing, but he writes that in an open letter that he sends to everybody. So at that point, a handful of players, and some of which that are still on the sidelines, signed with agents because in the law there's a concept of detrimental reliance. If you tell someone that something's final, I have a right to rely on that, right? And obviously Kevin Warren, for better or for worse, I mean, that wasn't the truth, right? They came out and changed their mind. So some of these players signed with agents. They accepted benefits. The NCAA is taking a close look to see how much benefits they got and if it's fair for them to come back. But if I'm a parent of one of those players, and I saw Kevin Warren's statement that it was a final cancellation, I'm probably serious right now, right? And I should be able to come back, right? So if Kevin Warren can change his mind, why can't I as a player then change my mind and go back? So I do think it's unfair, but I understand that the NCAA doesn't want to create some precedent that you can accept benefits and maybe accept a lot of money and then all of a sudden come back and play, which I think there should be an exception for this whole pandemic, but the NCAA has done very strange things before, so this wouldn't be the first time they've done this.
Doesn't this Venn diagram a little bit with name, image, and likeness, though? Because if in a couple years I'm an athlete and I'm going to sign with, couldn't I sign with an agent to get me commercials anyhow?
So you should be, but at least what we're hearing on the name, image, and likeness front, that the NCAA does not want to allow agents. They don't want to allow financial advisors to be advising the system. You'd think, guys, if you're going to allow athletes to make this much money in college and benefit off their name, image, and likeness, that you'd allow them some professional services to help them maximize that. But that is not what we're hearing on that front. So definitely agents not being involved. So again, I don't really agree with it, but that's what that the NCAA is leading towards at this point.
Yeah, and by the way, I mentioned Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State, who's a first-round talent. And then Carl Campbell, who's a huge Penn State fan, thought that maybe he was, in fact, coming back. But I just saw a story from 6 days ago, unless something's changed, that he continues to not, even though he's had discussions, his family, with James Franklin. What about this one, Dan? University of Colorado will get $1.625 million over the next 6 or 5 years from a sports betting company.
Yeah, guys, how much of that money is going to players? I'm curious. You guys know?
I would think a big fat zero. None.
A big fat zero is correct. So, these schools, and it kind of, it kind of, I'm sure, irked all of us that we're coming back and we're playing football. It's not Colorado, obviously, it doesn't apply to them, but, we're coming back and playing football because we reconsidered, the safety of playing during a pandemic. It's all about the money, and no one can convince us otherwise because there is so much money involved. Right? The Big Ten had all these protests and had all these lawsuits being flung against them. But guys, you know what made them come back? Oh, they reconsidered the safety of playing during a pandemic. No, it wasn't the lawsuits, it wasn't the politics. It was obviously the safety. So, I think there's this much money being made. Again, I don't know why the players can't get a piece of that pie. All the same image and likeness that we're talking about is going to be money that the players make on the side. It's not going to be taken away from the university. So universities are fine with it as long as that's being carved out. But again, if you're an employee and you're making money for your employer, that's why you get paid out of that revenue, right? The employer pays you. So, I think it's more of the farce that's being exposed. So I'm happy you guys are bringing some attention to it. I don't think that story gets that much publicity.
Dan, thanks for your time. We appreciate you as always so much.
Always a pleasure, guys. Anytime.
At Sports Law Lust, it's a great follow. He's been on with us now a handful of times. And a sports law analyst heard on ESPN, CBS, and Fox Sports. We have a lot of the networks, host of Condetrimental, the sports law podcast, and you can go and find all the information you need. He's very active on his social media as well. That University of Colorado deal, they're going to get $1.625 million, a 5-year advertising agreement. And remember, college athletes are not allowed to gamble.
No. College athletes aren't allowed to gamble. You can't even do
athletic department personnel,
fantasy
right?
Football.
You can't do fantasy football. You can't do a March Madness pool. You can't do any of that.
Coloradans voted to legalize sports gambling last November, but NCAA rules prohibit sports wagering among athletes, coaches, and administrators. Impending legislation on athlete compensation could cause more inequality, and it relates to gambling. The NCAA may prohibit athletes from endorsing gambling companies as well. Governing name, image, it's all about. I mean, it's convoluted.
See, that's where I'm all for the players getting some compensation and all that. I don't think they should be becoming basically semi-pro sports stars while they're in college. I do feel like there is some of that amateurism that needs to stay there, but certainly there needs to be some give on the part of the NCAA. But as a viewer, you want to know what'll tune me out real quick is when I start seeing the USC wide receiver doing advertisements for DraftKings and things like that. That's not going to be college football or college sports. That's going to be basically semi-pro NFL. And I know that's almost the goal of some people, but I'll just tell you as a hardcore college football fan, just for me, that's not going to be something that's really appealing to me. And if anything, it could turn me away, quite frankly.
And one of the regulations that the NCAA wants to have on it is no alcohol, no gambling, and no.
That's good, yeah.
And no something else for the athletes, which. Mm-hmm. That's going to be hard to get across if they're going to take the money too.
Yeah,
so if they're going to start, if the schools are going to start taking the money, you say, okay, you can have this money, but they don't. They want your best player too, and of course you can't. You can't really endorse a lot of this stuff until you're 21 anyway because of certain state laws. So they'll at least have a window if they did that. But still, I mean,
it's just the bigger it gets bigger.
I mean, I'm fine with Charlie Brewer doing a Gatorade commercial or the local furniture store or something like that. But I'm not against paying the players. My fear is just making them basically, like I said, NFL light to where.
And there's going to be, it's just like in the NFL, there's going to be a delineation of, there's going to be people that you want to make money. I think that the bigger thing about this is on a lower level, I could set up, if I'm the punter, I can set up a YouTube channel like the kid at UCF, and I can make some money on my YouTube channel, and nobody can say anything about it.
Eddie Van Halen died at 65. One of the greats in rock and roll history, right? Guitarist. Yep. Eddie Van Halen died today at the age of 65.
From throat cancer.
Yeah, from throat cancer. I'm sorry.
What he passed away from. So, yeah, much too young. And I guess it was very well known that he had been sick and had been battling, but I don't know if anybody expected him just to abruptly pass. But, by the way, also score update because the Astros are playing. It's 3-2 in game number 2. Astros
4-2.
Now 4-2. Okay, well, they just
hit a homer.
Apparently, there's just home runs. That's all that's really even going on in this game. But, 4-2 now, Astros in the top of the 5th.
They have regained their swagger, and they are now, it seems as if they're kind of back in the mode because their regular season was under 500, but they have, something's locked in for them, and they're driven maybe now more than ever before. They were so fortunate that there were no crowds at games because that would have been one of the harshest years that anyone's ever endured,
The poor bullied Astros.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying. I don't feel sorry for them. They would have earned all of whatever they got, but.
No, you're right. They were fortunate that they didn't have to face the music at all.
Yeah.
Really.
And now, then I think what Correa said after the first series against Minnesota was just kind of like pouring gas on the fire.
What he said made me go from not caring one single way or the other
or
about
even
the Astros.
Remembering anything.
I don't care at all as a Rangers fan. Do not care. Astros go win 10 in a row. Does not bother me. I don't look at you that way, like Cowboys, Redskins, or something like that. I don't look at the Astros like that. And all for their success as long as it doesn't get in the way of the Rangers. But him saying that just makes me go, you know what? Now I am rooting against you.
Yeah.
Now I do want to see you fall because you're just being a little bit of a D about it.
All right. So when we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. Can he fix the defense? Can anyone fix the defense? And also John McClain on the change in Houston. All of that and more in the 5 o'clock hour on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Brotherwell Brewing, online at brotherwell.com if you want to find out information about what's going on. They've got a lot of cool events that they're planning coming up. They had Oktoberfest this past weekend. They're bringing food trucks out when they can to get so different ones like Po' Boy Place was there and 310 Barbecue. 400 East Bridge Street, just about 2 blocks down from where we are here at 101 Elm. And if you are a fan of craft beer, then you need to check out Brotherwell. If you're a fan of living in Waco, Texas, you need to check out Brotherwell because it's beer made in our community for our community. And they want to bring Central Texans closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. They're the sponsor of our fantasy football show. They're great. They've got so many different varieties. So if you're not, I don't like this kind of beer or that kind of beer, or they hear it all the time, I don't like beer, but I do like this, they've probably got something that you would like. And right now, you can get curbside takeaway. As a matter of fact, it's open right now. You just call them up, tell them what you want. Go on, carry out curbside. Monday to Thursday, 4 to 7, Friday and Saturday, noon to 9, and Sunday, noon to 7. So you can do that as well. More information at brotherwell.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Employee pricing is back at Allen Samuels, exclusively on the king of minivans, the new 2020 Chrysler Pacifica. Get employee pricing plus financing as low as 0% or employee pricing and up to $4,250 in cash. You get Pacifica loaded up with style, comfort, and options all in one gorgeous minivan. Employee pricing with special financing or cash. Choices are always great at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Prescott going for it. Oh, and he's got connection for the touchdown to Schultz.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
5 o'clock hour, John McClain at the bottom of the hour. Earlier today, Mack Rhoades, and that podcast is up on Twitter and also up on the website as well. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, joins us. And I noticed this is a tweet from when Jerry was on his radio show this morning that the Cowboys defenders need to trust the scheme. Mike McCarthy saying it's human nature to revert back to what worked in the past. But this is a different defense, right? And how stubborn are the players being with not doing what their assignments are, or is it something bigger than that?
Great question. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it stubbornness. I don't know if you want to call it a lack of trust, but I mean, that's just the biggest takeaway that I've been able to glean out of what we watched on Sunday is that, I mean, the coaches and the front office are basically saying the players aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, which if you go back and watch that game, I mean, obviously, it just doesn't seem like there's a cohesive effort. And so, I mean, it's the worst defensive performance that I've seen in almost a decade of covering the Cowboys, and there have been a few of them. So, I mean, it's not like this is. I mean, it's unprecedented even for a defense that hasn't been that impressive over the last decade or so. So, I mean, going forward, I think that's what you got to figure out is there a way you can get buy-in from these players or pare it down to where this scheme is more palatable for them to execute, or what else can you do? Like that, I think that is the question that's facing them here is how do you get these guys to buy in, or how can you change what you're asking them to do so they can do it more successfully?
David, there's players that are starting to chirp on Twitter, which is never a good sign. I mean, Demarcus Lawrence went off, and I know Everson Griffin's already gotten at that. Does that worry you about any kind of tension in the locker room going on?
Not really. I think that's just the age that we live in. I mean, players are not blind to criticism, and searching their name is a touch of a button away. But I mean, all those guys have to do is turn on the tape to see what happened. And I mean, if they don't like people talking about it, then they can go out and correct it next week, and winning solves every problem. So yeah, I'm sure they're not happy, but playing terribly shouldn't completely destroy your locker room, at least over a one-game result. And, it would probably be better for football players' mental health if they stayed away from social media, but I just don't think that's realistic with a bunch of young guys in their 20s who are used to being praised all the time. So it's an adjustment, but the best way to fix that is to play better. So I think that's what you start with, more so than worrying about how they're feeling.
So, David, Joe Looney is going to be out for a little while, it appears, and also Lyle Collins done for the year?
Yeah, that's correct. I think, it's an MCL sprain for Joe, so you're probably talking 2 to 4 weeks. And Lyle hasn't had the hip surgery, but, I mean, every indication is that he's going to, and it's a season ender. So, honestly, not to dog on Joe. Everybody loves Joe, but I don't think that's a horrendous loss. They drafted Tyler Biadasz, won the Remington Trophy in college last year. He's played 130 snaps over the last 2 weeks, and he's held up really well. I mean, the line might be better in the long run with Biadasz. Like I said, no disrespect to Joe, but he's a talented kid. And then, figure out what to do at right tackle. They obviously yanked Terrence Steele in the second quarter the other day. It's certainly, I think Brandon Knight has played well enough to just be your regular right tackle. He's probably not going to be as good as Lyle Collins, but they've been able to minimize the problems with him playing there. I'm curious to see if the coaches agree with me, because they haven't. I've not to pat myself on the back, but I've been singing Brandon Knight's praises since last season, and this coaching staff hasn't seemed to agree with me. I wonder, or I'm curious to see, do they give Steele another chance? Are they interested in experimenting with moving somebody to tackle, or do they just roll with Brandon Knight? That's what I would do, but like I said, I'm interested to see if they agree with me.
Did Brandon Carr disappoint?
I'm surprised at how little of a role that he played, and I wonder why, but it's hard to say disappoint when you're talking about a guy in his 30s who you signed a week before the season who wasn't here in training camp. I think it was a mistake if you thought he was going to come in and be this gigantic difference maker, but I am curious, I don't know his numbers offhand, but he did not play a lot of snaps for this defense. He didn't get on the field very much. So, I'm curious why they did it, if they were just going to have him hang around for a few weeks and cut him, but I'm not disappointed by it just because I don't think my expectations were ever that high.
David, I think the thing that concerns me the most about the defense is it's not exactly like this is injury-riddled and help is on the way. It's injury-riddled, sure, but they're playing bad in spite of that, and there's not – in the secondary, even guys who are struggling, they need Chido Awuzie back, and he wasn't playing that well. It's not looking rosy even when they get healthy.
Yeah, I hate to sound like a sunshine pumper, but I'm curious because, and this is people are gonna say I'm crazy, but they weren't horrendous against the Rams and even in stretches against the Falcons. They had some coverage busts against the Falcons, but remember, the offense put them in a -3 turnover hole in that game, and they had to start at least 3 possessions on their own side of the field. So, the offense hasn't been doing them favors all year. But my point is, and like I said, I know this sounds crazy, so just bear with me, but if Anthony Brown can get back and Cheeto can get back, you probably feel a lot better about your cornerback depth. And then eventually you would like to think Leighton Vander Esch and Sean Lee can come back, hopefully around the end of the month. And to be very clear, I still don't think that means the defense is going to be good, but I don't need them to be good. I need them to hover somewhere between 16 and 22. And right now they're 31. So I need them to be average to below average, and I think that would be enough with this offense for them to win games.
Yeah, I was going to. Yeah, that was. Go ahead.
Yeah, and no, but so if I can get some of these experienced starters back, I can at least kind of talk myself into thinking that they will be better. Again, not good, but good enough to where the offense can win some games by scoring some points.
David, I saw where Mike Nolan said that he doesn't understand why Jalen Smith gets the criticism that he does. Do you think the criticism is warranted at this point from what you've seen?
So I don't, in a game like this, football is the ultimate team sport, all those cliches, like there's plenty of blame to go around.
Right.
There are plenty of guys that played terribly on Sunday. Jalen Smith was one of them. It's not like he's the only guy. But if Mike Nolan wants to know why, Tuesday is payday in the NFL. Let's look at Jalen Smith's bank statement, and it makes a lot of sense. Like that's it. That's all it is. Jalen isn't the worst player on this defense, but he's been being paid $12.8 million a year to be great. Like when you give a contract extension like that out, you're supposed to be, the top dog on your defense. You are supposed to lift all of the boats. Great players are supposed to overcome for the deficiencies of the lesser players around them. And Jalen Smith isn't doing that. So, he's not the only reason why the defense is terrible, but he is supposed to be one of the reasons why they're not. And that's not happening. So, like I said, if Mike Nolan needs me to explain that to him, I totally will.
David, Paul brought this up, the locker room, some of the chirping and Twitter and all that. But my question is, when you have an offense as prolific as they are, even though they've had their own warts, turnovers, of course, obvious, but the defense is atrocious. It's absolutely like a bad paper towel that's wet. Is it too early in the year to have concerns about finger pointing between one side of the locker room and the other?
Yeah, and again, I know that sounds stupid because it's been a rough first month, but and I do agree with Jerry Jones when he says this, which is like, adversity strikes like this for every team every year, and the Cowboys just happen to be getting it out of the gate. You don't. I would hope that you don't need to collapse and start finger pointing until your season is truly in jeopardy and like totally lost. And that's not the case for the Cowboys. Part of that is because they still are talented. The other part of that, let's just be honest, is that they play in an awful division. They should be able to contend for the playoffs with 7 to 9 wins. So that's not a big ask. So I would like to think that a locker room full of professionals can look around and say, like, it hasn't been great, but we got a lot of season left to turn it around, and the bar to make the playoffs is not that high.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and, again, at the risk of sounding like a homer, even as bad as the defense has been, and, they're onside kick recovery away from being winless, they also probably win one or two of these games if the offense can hold on to the football. And I know, it's harsh to blame the offense for these problems, but 9 turnovers in 4 games that is also atrocious. That's not going to get it done. So if you can play cleaner football on the offensive side of the ball, even with the defense being this bad, you're still probably talking about being 2-2 right now. And again, I know that's still not great, but it feels a whole world better than where they're sitting right now. So, yeah, like I said, even as rough as it's been, I don't think there's any reason to lose too much hope too quickly.
Is it foolish to think that they will go to more ball control running with Zeke because their defense can't stop anybody?
I made this joke to my coworker today, is like the running game is one of the biggest culprits in why they've turned the ball over. Zeke has fumbled 3 times this season. So, it's easy to say, like, pound the rock, that's safe, but it hasn't necessarily been true so far this year. I'm one of these young analytic driven people. I go against the grain with the old football axioms. I say score points when you can score points any way that you can. And the offense was humming just fine in the first half. They had 350 yards, I believe, or no, 250 yards at halftime. If not for the very untimely turnovers, it's easy to imagine the second half being a different story. So, Zeke needs to have a role, but with an offense this dynamic, I don't like the idea of purposefully trying to tie a hand behind their back. I say you get it any way you can.
Anything? Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. David Hellman with us, DallasCowboys.com every Tuesday at 5. Love his insight and transparency and all the things he brings to the table. I've got a scary thought. So we've had all 3 call the show. G.I. Joe texted us earlier.
Yeah.
Right? Matt in D.C. constantly is one of ours that is on the text line and is called in, right? And then T-Rex started calling in. He texts us quite a bit, even on Twitter. Sources are telling me that these three individuals who have been known to be criminal, all of them went to the same high school together and graduated at La Vega. And it's not because they went to La Vega I said that, because we both know all three of them are flat out nuts. However, G.I. Joe, who took us on the tour of Fort Hood.
He let me hold a grenade. I mean, it was a dead grenade, but I mean, still.
Would you have held a live one?
No, he said he when I walked in the door, he turned around, he threw it at me, and I caught it, and I was like, and he's like, no, don't worry, this is where we keep all this stuff.
Oh my God!
This is where all the broken stuff is.
Myself right there.
Who says
heavy too?
Who says I didn't?
Okay, I was going to say. And then we know that Matt and I learned this from Matt. Matt went Navy. All right.
Mm-hmm.
He also was stationed at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that?
Awesome.
Matt in D.C., if you're listening, you need to call us. I want to talk to you about that.
That's one of the coolest places you can go.
And he also marched, and he was a part of the two George W. Bush inauguration parades.
And as far as I can tell, T-Rex is in the Space Force.
Oh, T-Rex.
No, that's crazy, though. They all three were there at the same time. I bet there were a story or two that came out of that time period.
T-Rex could have kept Matt and Joe out of the military. Or maybe that's why they both went to serve. We need them.
Yeah.
And those are three loyal as heck. I mean, Matt was immediate with what we were doing. It
was our first call.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously Joe and started the calls over the weekend the first time. Is great. Man, I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you for Matt and Joe for serving our country and T-Rex for serving aliens. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Don Humidor in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Don Humidor does something, in fact, two or three things very well. One of them is the cigars they provide. If you smoke cigars and you like to smoke cigars, and you know then the great names of the cigars. Macanudo, Ashton, and Rocky Patel are my favorites. They have the number one cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. And by the way, Carol Ashley and the staff there at Don Humidor, they'll actually, when a new cigar comes in or they go to these different shows, and I know that maybe that's been limited because of COVID, they also test drive, so to speak, the cigars that they put inside. Not every one of them, my God, they would all just be Phillips, just full of smoke. But they also will test the newest in whatever's the up-and-coming cigar and give you feedback on it. Some like a cigar that's very smooth and light, and some that like them a little more harsh. And then it just depends on the flavor as well of what you get from your cigar. They help you and know that, like, they could be and write their own columns in Cigar Aficionado, the magazine. Coffee beans, the best beans in town. Don Humidor, fair trade organic coffees, decaffeinated flavor and breakfast coffees to suit anyone's taste. And CBD, 100% U.S. grown, full spectrum, broad spectrum CBD for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, anxiety, mild depression, even general health and wellness. If you need to be able to sleep quicker, faster, without tossing and turning, the Vita Dreams helps you do that. It's Don Humidor. Tell Carolyn Ashley Smokey sent you in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram. You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
On the news about T-Rex and Matt DC and also Joe, from Daniel Acton on our Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line 254-339-1122. I'm almost sad to say this, but T-Rex is a graduate of McMurray, my alma mater. Now he's such a loyal Baylor fan that he needs an honorary degree from Baylor, and for that I salute him.
I thought he got one last year.
He might have. I think
no,
he
I'm
did.
pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
Unless I'm, he did actually get an honorary degree last year.
Yeah, he did. All right, thanks to Jack, who's here from Cistercian. Is that right? Cistercian.
Cistercian. Yeah.
Cistercian. Is that Fort Worth or Dallas?
Irving.
Okay. And then also, of course, CJ is here, and Armstrong. All three running the mothership. We could get Denzel Washington. We've given our favorite movie. They were all Training Day. Got a couple of others. Eli was mentioned a couple of times on my Twitter feed. Which one? Philadelphia was another one mentioned.
Yeah. Do you have one?
CJ, do you?
CJ might have one.
Okay.
You don't have one, Armstrong?
Training Day was really good, but I think my favorite's got to be Men on Fire.
That was my number two.
That's my number
very
two,
underrated too. Is that the one where?
So
is it New Orleans or something like that?
No, he's in Mexico.
That's right. He's in Mexico. Yeah, that was in. He does some of the most. An American Gangster was good.
Yeah. Now in Man on Fire,
his mom was so mad at him.
My favorite scene in Man on Fire is when he's got that dude tied to the hood of the car and he's got a bomb in him.
Yes.
And he's just tapping him on the head with I'm a professional. I keep hearing this. I'm a professional.
That's a bucket list for me.
Oh yeah.
Two guys, a bucket list for me. There's a couple of sports, but Denzel would be one. I know he's at training camp. I know.
Broadway.
Oh, Broadway. Okay.
I saw him on Broadway for 4 hours.
Why didn't you slip him the VIP guest hotline?
I didn't get that close.
He just seems to be, and I've seen him on a couple of the, interview shows, whatever. He does not get into the same Hollywood or political. He just kind of
nobody cares about his opinion.
He realizes that he's not above anybody like a bunch of these other morons who think they live in the real world, but they know they live in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I'll never, ever, ever. I already didn't have a whole lot of respect for Hollywood, so to speak, anyways. But that whole to-do when the protests started, and all these people behind their gated communities, like Chrissy Teigen and all these other people, are like, "Go riot, yeah, do your thing." And as soon as they got to Beverly Hills,
like, whoa,
everything shut down.
Yeah,
everything got shut down, and all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, this is a little too close to home." And I will never forget just that hilarious sequence of events of going from cheering to, oh no, they're here at our back door, and it's a little bit different
these
now.
Animals.
Yeah, well, that's what that dude, that NBA reporter or whatever said. Yeah.
Well, it's Chris Pratt got some flack yesterday, and he is a lot in the Denzel camp of like he doesn't take himself serious at all. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger's his father-in-law now, but he had a tweet about his movie Onward is on Disney Plus now, and so he tagged it with vote. He said you can hear from me. I'm just gonna say vote or any celebrity 35 times a day, and like people were like, oh, how dare you do that? It's like, well, that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing
right now. I mean, like that's all he was doing was just saying like all these celebrities are just tweeting out like they'll tweet out like thirst trap picture and then like now that I got your attention, vote.
Nothing makes me want to go vote more than the Kardashians. That really motivates me.
Yeah.
How many that are promoting the vote think that they're only helping?
Well, that's the thing about
anti-Trump thing.
Well, that's the thing. You if you tell people to vote, they're going to vote for it. They're going to vote for
right.
I mean,
everybody. That means everybody gets to vote,
shot.
Right?
I mean,
yeah, I'm a big Denzel fan. I saw him on one time. I don't know if it was Letterman or Leno or whatever, and they were trying to get him to do what they could get him to do when it comes to politics. Back maybe during George Bush or something like that. But he did not bite, and he was very clear about it. I may even look it up on YouTube during the commercial break. 5-2 still. CJ Astros lead the 5-2 Astros are on their way to possibly moving into the American League Championship
interrupt
Series.
Astros fan John McClain here in a second.
It's best of 7 now?
Yeah.
Best of 5 again? Best of 5 again. Okay.
So it's 3, 5, 7.
Okay. All right. John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. He's got a lot to do with
don't cover your mouth when you're talking.
The Texans and what's going on with them and the changes yesterday at the top.
I've got a story here before we go to John McClain. Urban Meyer is now going to be a name that you're going to hear a lot about as Texas struggles. If they continue to struggle, Tom Herman. Not off to the ideal start. It had the big feel good, beat up on UTEP, and then felt like maybe this is the year, Sam Ehlinger's senior year, and then they go out and they lose last week to TCU, albeit in a close game. They had an opportunity to win, but Sam Kahn had put up the stat that since 2017, which was the first year of Tom Herman at Texas, UT has lost to 6 opponents that went in as unranked, with them ranked. So as an AP-ranked team, Texas has lost to 6 opponents that were unranked, the most in the FBS during that span.
Wow.
So that's kind of a shocking number, but not really when you think about it. But now this has led to the guy who kind of gave Tom Herman his start in many ways and led to him becoming the head coach at Texas, Urban Meyer. Herman, of course, was his OC and was dazzling with Ezekiel Elliott and JT Barrett and all those guys, and then he lands at UT. And so he was talking about why Texas has struggled, and he said, let's talk about the why. Here's the why. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, evaluation. You have to thoroughly go back and say, are we evaluating the right way in our program? But here's where I want to spend a second talking about development. Once they get on your campus, you have to develop them. And when I say development, it's weight room, training room, nutritionist, maybe even a sports psychologist, and then, of course, the assistant coaches. So the what is, they haven't had many players drafted. That's fine. The average viewer can say, okay, that's the what. But dig deep, lift up the hood, and say why. It's evaluation and development of the player. If the NFL draft doesn't start showing more Longhorn players every spring, it's going to be the same old story. So
let me tell you something. He's positioning himself.
He's going to go to Texas in like 2 years. Yep.
Urban's wife's going to be buying real estate on.
Get ready for it. It's going to be. I'm telling you, it's going to be a big buzz talking point as long as Herman struggles.
This is him just kind. And now you know what we're going to do. By the way, we'll be looking for a co-host because Paul's going to want to. He's going to want to be on Hook'em.com, radio and TV.
Is there a more perfect marriage than Urban Meyer in Texas?
Yes, Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, and Paul Catalina on a talk show.
It's kind of like the Legion of Doom. Like oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wish he was in Lincoln. Would you, if he could coach next year in Tallahassee? You're damn right.
Well, here's the thing.
You would.
I'm telling you, I'd probably have to. Like I would. I'd
there
get
you
on
go.
board.
So there's a level of when you give up.
But there would be part of me that just hated myself for the hypocrisy.
No, I don't think so.
When they're hoisting that golden ball or that gold lipstick trophy.
You would not.
Well, I mean, everything I've said, I would look, I would take him on my campus in a second. I would. I mean, it just
as a fan,
but I think he's the most morally reprehensible coach that there is. I think he's awful. I think he's a terrible human being.
But he can help the Florida State Seminoles win. Hell yeah.
And so.
So he's perfect for Texas, is what you're saying. That's what you just said, right?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because now that's going to start becoming a thing, and there's going to be a buzz over it.
If they lose another game, if they lose to Oklahoma, especially with OU being as vulnerable and what appears to be confused as I've seen them.
Yeah, they're not very good.
But
they're beatable right now.
But if he went to Texas, I would worry about me, just walking past Dave Aranda, grabbing him by the shirt and going, you have to beat him. You have to beat him. You can't lose to him.
Well, if
you understand what it'll do to me?
If you'll remember, it was a very vocal minority, but I do remember more than a couple of people during the last coaching search being like, how about Urban to Baylor? And it's just I don't think that's what they need to do. That's not the guy they need to pluck away to replace Matt Rule. I don't think so.
I would, you could sit there and say all you want, but if you could go to Tallahassee or go to Lincoln and win or go to you'd take him in a heartbeat. And
he would officially check my bottom three of Florida, Ohio State, and Texas.
It's
my bottom three.
When we come back, John McClain had a busy Tuesday and a busy Monday. The Texans fired Bill O'Brien. John was all over that. What does it all mean? He's next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team at eXp Realty, they are your go-to source when you're buying or selling your home. Lance is a fantastic guy. You're going to love spending time with him when you're looking at new houses, and you're going to want that. He's a great listener. He's going to learn everything he can about your family. He's going to find that perfect place for you because he's going to listen to all those little details. Plus, he's going to figure out something you may not even know. So give him a call, 254-214-3713 or lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. And again, he's got some great listings here, lots of different price ranges from pretty normal price range to even some that are really, really high. So it depends on whatever you're looking for. Lance has got something in your ballpark. lancedonaldson.exprealty.com or on the phone, 254-214-3713.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 7 to 7, and personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
You know, relative to the last question, John, you know, I don't have any control. All I can control is what I can control, and I've got to do a better job with the team. I mean, that's obvious, and we're going to work hard to do that.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Sikkim 365 Radio, Paul Catalina, David Smoke, and Craig Smoke. John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, our Hall of Fame NFL writer, every week at this time. And John, Bill O'Brien was pretty confident in his job, and then about 6 hours later, he didn't have one. How did this all go down?
The Texans are the most disappointing team in the NFL this season. They're 0-4. They just look bad in losing to a winless team. Minnesota came in at 0-3. And this deterioration of the Texans goes back to last season. After they beat Buffalo in the playoffs, they choked that 24-point lead at Kansas City, and then they start 0-4 this season. I look at Buffalo. Buffalo loses to the Texans. The Bills are 4-0, playing great on both sides of the ball. Texans, they're a Super Bowl contender. Texans are a toilet bowl contender. And I'm not surprised after that Minnesota game that the owner, Cal McNair, fired Bill O'Brien because he said we're going in the wrong direction, and anybody who's watched them cannot dispute it.
John, what was the timeline? Because earlier in the day, I thought I saw something where he said, I'll start calling the plays. And did he have no clue that was about to happen, I guess?
Well, I guess not. We met with him. We meet with O'Brien every Monday in a Zoom call to talk about the post game, and I asked him, "Are you worried about getting fired?" And he said, "I only worry about what I can control, and that's something I can't control." And I didn't think they would do it then. I wrote a column yesterday that I thought if they lost to Jacksonville, there's a good chance of that because they're not playing well, that Bill O'Brien would be fired next week. And I had to chunk that column when they fired him. So Cal McNair said he was not happy with the direction the team's been going, and he didn't see any hope. He wants to win. That's steal the goal, starting with Jacksonville. Then they go to Tennessee. Then they host Green Bay before their bye week. So they're really looking at a 1-6 start. But he said that he wants to win, and so he didn't think they were headed in that direction with O'Brien, so he pulled the plug.
John, from what you've been able to gather, what has been the response or the feelings from the players on this move? And in particular, obviously your big stars like Watson and Watt.
Well, I think J.J. Watt summed up the feelings of his players and most of the people in the organization when he sent out a tweet today of NRG Stadium. The roof is open and the field is bathed in sunlight. He didn't put a comment on there, but everybody knows what he meant. A dark cloud has been lifted. Sunshine has returned. It's a bright day at NRG Stadium again. That just about sums it up. When you got O'Brien's fiery personality in which he loses his temper, he blows up at people all the time. When you're winning, players can stomach it, but when you're losing and he still does it, it starts to go in one ear and out the other. And O'Brien blew up at everybody in the organization other than the owner, Cal McNair. And that's his management style, and it wasn't working. And I'll guarantee you the players will never say they're happy, but I can tell you they're happy. And right now, Romeo Crennel, who was fired as the head coach in Kansas City and Cleveland, is one of the all-time best defensive coordinators. Romeo is the opposite personality of O'Brien. He's a grandfatherly type. He can chew you out if he thinks you deserve it, but he's a class act. Everybody likes him, and he'll do it the rest of this season. And then they'll bring in a new coach, and I can tell you that new coach will not be the general manager, and he'll have an offensive background, and he will have had success coaching a quarterback with the same skill set as Deshaun Watson. And my favorite choice is Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator at Kansas City, who called the plays the last 2 years, won a Super Bowl ring, and works closely with Patrick Mahomes.
John, if the Texans, don't pull out of this hole at all, and they wind up having a top 5 pick, that's going to the Dolphins. So for the next GM and head coach, it's going to take him at least another draft cycle to kind of help dig out of this hole too. Is that another reason why you do have to get rid of Bill O'Brien? Because, even if he finished out the year in bad, there's no reward for that bad season.
Nope, there's not. Now, they still have 8 draft choices starting in the 3rd round. And so they will be able to bring some players in. They got a lot of good players who were taken in a 3rd round down. But you don't have those 2 impact players, and that finishes the Miami trade for Laramie Tunsil and receiver Kenny Smith. And one of the things about it, when they made that trade, they figured they would have a low number 1 pick like they did this year, 27th overall. They thought they'd have a low number 1 pick next year. Now it could be high. I don't think it's going to be the 1st overall pick, although I've been saying they're trying to not have that. But, yeah, they're going to have some cap issues as well. Right now, they're going to have to pay Bill O'Brien about $20 million to walk away, and their payroll is they're spending more money on their players this season than any team in the league. That's why I hear some fans sometimes go, "Oh, the McNairs don't want to win; they won't spend money." Yeah, they do spend a lot of money.
John, what do you think, and I know it's very fresh, but just in your best estimation, what do you think the future holds for Bill O'Brien?
I believe Bill, he could take a year off if he wants to. I don't think he wants to. I know he wants to be a head coach. If you're an owner and general manager and you're looking for a head coach, and here's O'Brien, won the division 4 times in 5 years, had a winning record, had 5 winning seasons in the first 6, and had a lot of success developing Deshaun Watson, I think he would have more than one opportunity.
John, when you get the head coaching job and then you get to take over as general manager, which he got that as well, I understand you want control of what is going on, but isn't that like a double whammy of being fired?
Well, you could say the general manager got the head coach fired.
Yeah.
Because some of his personnel decisions are not working out this season. They worked out last season. They won the division, finished 10-6, won a playoff game, built that 24-0 lead at Kansas City that they blew. So I don't think he feels like he was fired twice, but we make jokes here about the GM got the head coach fired.
Your thoughts about a rough weekend in Morgantown, West Virginia?
Well, I watched that game, and I was just flabbergasted at the way the offensive line just got totally dominated, and it had all those starters back. I was almost wishing for the backups who had played against Kansas, but the two brothers that play in that defensive line, the Stills are Stills. Both of them are. They're both NFL prospects, and boy, they proved it. If NFL scouts only had that game to look at, both of them be a first-round draft choice because they just manhandled them up front, and that's scary. That's got to worry Dave Aranda and Larry Fedora going into their next game. I think it's good they got a weekend off to try to correct those issues.
Thank you. Not anything else?
John, how about the Astros?
Yeah.
Astros winning 5-2 right now, bottom of the seventh. If they win this one, I'm hoping the A's come back with Mike Fiers, and let's see what the Astros could do on the guy that blew the whistle on them. I guess they took the trash can with them and the buzzer with them to Dodger Stadium, because in the World Series, people forget they pounded the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John. John McClain with us. See, we're going to keep track of how many times we don't hang up on him before. That's 0-1.
I've got a theory. They're using the cardboard cutout somehow.
Like one of them's a real person?
No, I mean, they may be, or like they've got a little camera in there.
Yeah.
You have the ones where you like walk by and it says like, hello.
Yeah, that would scare the heck out of me.
Have a Coke.
Yeah. Well, they're winning again, and they're beating up the A's, and they already swept Minnesota, and they're a win away. Is that right? From being not only this, they have to win another one.
Yeah.
Right? They're 2-0 lead here in a minute, unless Oakland makes one hell of a rally. All right, another break.
Yeah,
another break. Okay, we will come back. Look at the Big 12 this weekend. Baylor's off, Oklahoma State's off as well, but a couple of the pop quiz answers as well.
We're not ready for it yet. Is that what you're saying? Okay, we'll just do it at the end then. It's fine.
What?
The break.
Oh, okay. All right, we mentioned the Denzel Washington. Oh, we can?
We're good either way.
All right.
We have break 9.
Let's break now. We'll come back.
right.
Go over a couple. I know Pop Quiz is premium content, but we'll ask you, the audience, to respond to it as well. The Big 12 this week and a couple other notes. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sikkim 365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi. Great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco. House-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on Sikkim365.com.
Closing out this show, and again, thanks to our newest sponsor this week, the Nitchie Group, the George Harmon. They are sponsoring the Phil Bennett podcast and also the segment Mondays at 5, which we got tremendous feedback on. Now, we also do a pop quiz. We mentioned the Denzel Washington, your favorite movie, and we've got most of us said Training Day, and a few people brought up Eli in Philadelphia and a couple others. Man on Fire. The
Great Debaters.
Yeah, yes. That's a good one.
I didn't even know that one. Is there some I haven't seen?
Yeah,
okay.
You'd like that one. It's good. It's really good. Really uplifting.
Who would you say right now will be a part of the Big 12 championship? Which team?
Iowa State and TCU.
All right.
I'm going to say Oklahoma State and Iowa State.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's 2-0. Iowa State's beaten Oklahoma, which is the big bad wolf, the 800-pound gorilla of the conference, and then also won a game at TCU. And there's sometimes that offense, Purdy has not been all that sharp either, but he made enough plays. He seems to kind of have a little bit of a confidence in him.
Here's the thing, too. Iowa State deserves a ton of credit. They played great defensively. They have OU's number. There is no doubt about it, like TCU has UT's number. But OU also played like absolute garbage for a large portion of that game. So I want to make it very clear I'm not taking away from Iowa State's performance at all. But before we go, like, oh my gosh, Iowa State's like really good. They just beat up. They were trailing for the majority of that game. OU had a billion opportunities to go up bigger, and just their own miscues from they couldn't tackle anybody.
Well, they allowed a kickoff return right after they finally grabbed the lead, and they give up an 85-yard kick return.
And then you got Rattler's miscues, but, he had no help whatsoever. Their offensive line's not as good. Their running backs are really not even close to what they've had.
None of them
are physical. Their receivers are not even that good because all they've got now, you know what they've got now that CeeDee Lamb's gone? They got a bunch of guys who are ranked like CeeDee Lamb but don't have the heart of CeeDee Lamb.
There was a throw that Rattler made on the run that was a huge moment in the game to Theo Weiss, the kid from Cedar Hill or wherever he's from. Allen, we saw him in that playoff game. Flat out, just a tremendous throw. I thought he was throwing the ball out of bounds. You got him. You don't have CeeDee Lamb. That's a big loss. But usually Oklahoma has the next guy.
Yeah.
So they went from Hollywood Brown and then CeeDee Lamb, and where's the next guy? And Charleston Rambo's another one. He's been okay.
Really done much compared
to
their
running game.
Well, you know what?
Just atrocious.
Like CeeDee Lamb could do anything you wanted. Like he's. He can look. Okay, go burn that guy, and we're going to throw it deep.
Reverse with him.
We're going to put you in the run a hitch and then make somebody miss. Charleston Rambo seems like he's got one gear, which is all right. You can beat that DB. Let's go throw it over the top to you, and that's what CeeDee Lamb did for that offense, especially for Lincoln Riley, who likes to do a lot of different things. All right, we're going to give it to CeeDee Lamb and just let it go.
Without CeeDee Lamb, Baylor's Big 12 champions last year.
No, you're right.
Undefeated, probably. I mean, that's the thing is how good he was, but they don't have that next wave of guys, and the biggest thing is that their fans got so spoiled, and I said this yesterday, but you now have a real freshman quarterback. You don't have a Heisman contender, although he was like third in the preseason rankings, which shows you how absurd that whole thing is. But he's making
that was a Lincoln Riley Heisman
redshirt
trophy.
freshman mistakes.
Yep.
And this is not Lincoln taking an already Heisman contending guy and then making him that much better. So this is not the same team by any stretch. They're very, very beatable, and they're very weak in certain areas on both sides of the football.
Yeah.
So Iowa State, ton of credit, but that performance doesn't necessarily make me go like, wow, they're really good. It makes me go like, wow, I can't believe they won that game.
I think Oklahoma gets blown out. I'm not blown out because they'll score, but I really don't like this matchup because at least UT seems to be playing hard.
Yeah, I think with preseason polls and preseason things, the preseason Heisman, like, why would you put somebody a preseason Heisman that you've never seen play before?
Because of Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even still,
he had a year to mature.
That's not even fair to Lincoln Riley.
There you go. Lincoln Riley was the Heisman Trophy preseason pick, not his quarterback.
I think it's a combination. I think it's the hype that Spencer Rattler had because we've been hearing about him for 2 years. He was on a freaking Netflix series, and everybody got to see him there. And the reason why I say it's a combination, because if Tanner Mordecai was starting quarterback, he would not be getting Heisman buzz, I don't feel like. I feel like that's a combination of Riley and also of Rattler's popularity. But, no, they're very beatable. I would pick Texas this weekend, just because overall they've looked better. But, man, who the heck knows? And either way, like the thing that's going to be so fascinating about this weekend is either way, whoever the losing head coach is going to be in for a week of hell as far as, feedback and just ramifications and things like that. Because we were talking about that Urban Meyer UT thing that you can already feel like the smoke, starting to get in the air a little bit. Go lose to a bad OU team in the Red River Shootout after you just lost to TCU.
All hell breaks
if
loose.
You're Lincoln Riley, start off 1-3 and lose to Texas badly. I mean, he's not going to get fired. Herman's not going to get fired, but boy, oh boy, it's going to cause some problems.
If one of those two gets tossed around like a dish rag on Saturday, and especially if it's the guy in Austin, it will.
Yep.
Lincoln Riley's had a honeymoon.
Now that his old boss, though, has started to talk about them,
chirping a little bit,
that puts a lot of pressure on the Texas athletic department, which wasn't probably there before. Like all it does is, Urban Meyer mentions it. Of course, Urban Meyer got his name in the Cowboys search last year by talking about him on Colin Cowherd.
And don't think that wasn't planned.
Of course it was.
And he's going to be in Tallahassee, and you will just lick all over him. All right. Thanks to CJ, to Jack, also to our good friend Armstrong, who runs the mothership with everybody else. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke. Thanks to all of our guests. Back at it tomorrow. Jordan Lake, former Baylor football player, will join us as one of our guests tomorrow. 5-2 still Astros?
Yep. 5-2 Astros, and they are in the top of the 8th.
I'm David Smoke. Thank you for listening whenever you do, however long it might be. And good night on Sikkim 365 Radio.